machine. In addition, Xia Huanhuan and her triplets sent a set of gifts to Grandma Luo in the sanatorium, as well as some food. The triplets shouted, "Grandma, can you come to our house and celebrate the New Year with us?" Many people living in the sanatorium are relatives of martyrs, so every year the sanatorium organizes programs and various New Year activities, which is actually quite lively. After hearing what the triplet said, Xia Huanhuan's heart moved, and she smiled and said, "Aunt, the kids are right. If you are willing, come home and celebrate the New Year with us. We have a place to live, you can go and stay for a few days, and if you are not used to it, you can come back to the nursing home, it will be convenient." Grandma Luo had no relatives or friends, and on weekdays, only Xia Huanhuan brought the children to visit her. After hearing what the triplet said, she was worried about causing trouble for Xia Huanhuan, so she waved her hand and said, "Forget it. I have a lot of old sisters here. We can talk and make dumplings together and live happily." In the past, Xia Huanhuan had also suggested that she go and stay for a few days, but Grandma Luo refused every time. However, it is the Chinese New Year after all, Xia Huanhuan said with a smile. "Aunt, it's the Chinese New Year, and it's lively over there too. You can come and stay for a few days. If you really don't get used to it, we can send you back, right?"
Grandma, come.
"My mother will make a lot of delicious food." Grandma Luo looked at the children and finally nodded, saying, "Well, then I'll be thick-skinned and stay over for a few days." This matter was settled. Xia Huanhuan came with Li Zhan the next day and took Grandma Luo to the courtyard. Then everyone worked together to clean the house, buy New Year's goods, prepare food, fry it, paste couplets, buy firecrackers, and it was so busy that it was the New Year's Eve. After setting off firecrackers, everyone gathered around the big table and ate a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner of dumplings, chicken, duck, fish, and meat. After eating, Xia Huanhuan took out fried peanuts, melon seeds, and other things, and put them on the table. She also took out cards and mahjong from the space. For people sat at each table, either playing cards or mahjong. Even the children had 2 tables set up for them to play. Those who knew how to play taught those who couldn't play. They didn't play for money, just for fun. They played until 8 or 9 o'clock, then went to bed. Li Zhan directly sent the triplets to sleep with their 2 brothers, Xiaowen and Xiaowu. On New Year's Eve, of course he had to occupy his wife and couldn't let those little brats mess up. As a result, Xia Huanhuan slept in on the morning of the first day of the New Year. Lin Yuru couldn't help but come over and call, laughing, "How can you sleep in on the first day of the New Year? The dumplings are almost rolled up." It started snowing again in the middle of the night last night. Now the triplets and Xiaowen, Xiaowu, and Beibei are playing in the snow and making snowmen in the yard. Yan Yan turned around and said, "Grandma, we all up. My mom is not as diligent as us." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Zhan walked over and patted him on the head, scolding with a smile, "You little rascal, what are you talking about your mom? Be careful, or your mom will beat you." When Yan Yan heard this, he thought about how he felt when he was spanked when he was naughty in the past, and he subconsciously covered his little ace. Li Zhan brought a bowl of dumplings to the house and smiled guiltily. "Just sit up halfway, and I'll feed you." Xia Huanhuan glanced at him reproachfully, supported her sore waist and half sat up, took the bowl and said, "I'll eat it myself. If I let you feed me again, the whole family will laugh at me." Li Zhan chuckled twice and said, "Don't worry, I won't laugh at you." Xia Huanhuan threw the pillow over. "Don't you see who did this? If you dare to laugh at me, humph." However, Li Zhan is already 31 years old, and his energy is not much lower than before. Xia Huanhuan really admires him. It's not that she doesn't want it, but she enjoyed it at the beginning, but it was a bit unbearable later. Thinking about how she begged in a low voice last night, this rascal didn't restrain himself, so she wanted to beat him. The dumplings were stuffed with pork and cabbage. After eating the dumplings, Xia Huanhuan struggled to get up. All the adults in the family are up. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan took Chen Yan, Xiaowen, Xiaowu Beibei, and the triplets, one house at a time, to go to Baidu. Everyone also prepared New Year's money for them. However, Xia Huanhuan had gone through it in advance. Like Yang Qiushi, Shen Wan, Xuerong Jinbang and others, they had valuable things as soon as they took action. Pack red envelope. Children just used their New Year's money to enjoy the celebration, buy firecrackers and some snacks. Chunyan didn't go home for the Chinese New Year this year. There are so many people here. If she went back, she would be even busier during the Chinese New Year. Xia Huanhuan asked her opinion. After thinking about it, she couldn't go back. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, she also got a share of the New Year's money. Although she is older than other children, she is also afraid that she will feel uncomfortable when she sees Xiao Wen and Xiao Wu and the others buying things with their New Year's money during the Chinese New Year. Chunyan was overjoyed. In rural areas, New Year's money is actually money from one family for money from that family, so it's all about saving what you can. Older children don't have it. She probably remembered receiving lucky money when she was 7 or 8 years old. Fourth uncle, this. Are these really all for me? Li Zhan said with a smile.
Yeah, just keep it.
If you want to buy anything during the new year, just give it as pocket change. Chunyan happily said, hey. Made a sound. On the second day of the Lunar New Year, Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan took several children and gifts to Fu's house to pay New Year's greetings. Fu Dongjin, Fu Beifa and his wife, and Fu Nanjing and Yu Siju also came back. The children at home got into a mess and went to play war games with other children in the courtyard. Yu Siju was already 2 months pregnant, and she couldn't tell from her figure. However, she was so happy that she didn't eat much for lunch. Fu Nanjing carries plum candy with him, and when he feels nauseous, he gives one to Yu Siju, who is also full of affection. The day passed with Mr. Fu taking a walk and Fu Weixin practicing calligraphy. In the next few days, I also visited relatives and friends. In addition, I started to prepare the raw materials for braised food, which was also a matter of opening 2 stores. On the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, Xia Huanhuan got up early. Lin Yuru and Xia Shuangshan couldn't sleep either, and woke up early. Braised meat is braised the night before, including beef, beef tongue, beef offal, pig's trotters, pig's ears, pig's head and face, as well as chicken feet, chicken gizzards, chicken racks, and whole braised duck, etc. Vegetarian dishes include braised tofu skin, dried tofu, shredded kelp, yuba, winter bamboo shoots, and other varieties. This was all done at 4 or 5 in the morning. Xia Shuangshan had already delivered 2 large pots of braised meat to the shop on a cart. The name of the shop is also simple, just Xia Ji Braised Meat. Xia Huanhuan had someone write the name of the shop in advance, and then found a carpenter to finish it, and it was already hung up on the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. In addition to the store name sign, there is also a large wooden board with the varieties and prices of braised meat prepared daily written on it. This saves you the trouble of bargaining, and since this is a new store, if many people don't know the price, they will be hesitant to come forward and buy it. If the price is clearly marked, people won't be afraid that after asking, they will think it's too expensive, so they won't. Embarrassing to buy. Xia Huanhuan's idea was that the store would only be open for the rest of the day, so that Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru could make a living, and their bodies could handle it. However, today is the first day of opening, so it must start in the morning. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru were both wearing newly made clothes, and their hair was neatly combed. Li Zhan set off firecrackers and placed a sign at the door of the store with a festive red paper that read Big Opening Offer. Below it was a line of small words, buy any braised food and get braised dried beans for free. The price of braised food is not expensive either. The meat version is only 1.30 yuan per catty, and the vegetarian version is 50 cents per catty. In fact, it is just hard-earned money. However, Xia Huanhuan took out the raw materials from the space. She lied that she had made an agreement with a slaughterhouse on the outskirts of the city, and the prices for parts, such as offal, were cheaper. Ingredients such as dried tofu are all made in-house, and it takes a lot of time. As soon as the firecrackers went off, everyone's attention was indeed attracted, and then they saw that it was a small shop, and everyone became even more curious. For more than 10 years now, when buying braised food, I have to go to state-owned food stores. The taste of the state-owned food store is pretty good, but the price is indeed 1.51 catty for meat and 70 cents for vegetarian food. They are both more expensive than this store. Moreover, the salesperson is also arrogant. When he sees someone buying less, I couldn't help but say something unpleasant. Now that I saw such a small facade, I couldn't help but stepped forward and asked if it was a private facade. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Yes. Doesn't the country encourage self-employed people now? I braise these at home, and the ingredients are the freshest. Sister, try this beef tongue, it tastes good." Xia Huanhuan said. Taking a plate came out, which contained beef tongue that had been cut into small pieces, with small bamboo skewers inserted on each piece. This kind of tasting was still common in the future, but in those days, 1 penny would be broken in half and spent, and food was in short supply, not to mention meat dishes were brought out for free tasting. The elder sister, who just asked, was a little hesitant. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Sister, don't worry, this is a trial. It's free." After hearing this, the eldest sister looked at Xia Huanhuan in disbelief, but she still took a piece and tasted it. It tasted really good, very tasty and not too salty. The eldest sister couldn't help but nod. Xia Huanhuan said to other onlookers, "Everyone can try it. It doesn't matter if you don't buy it." After hearing this, everyone rushed up and took a piece to taste. Many people took them without buying them, but many people thought they tasted good, were cheaper than state-owned stores, and came with dried tofu, so they went and bought them. Although the price is by the kilogram, what everyone buys must be bought in twos, and threes. Lin Yuru and Xia Shuangshan were in the store, with Xiaowen helping them. Xia Shuangshan was responsible for cutting it and putting it into everyone's own lunchboxes, while Xiaowen helped Lin Yuru collect money and settle accounts. Some of them didn't bring lunchboxes, so Xia Shuangshan lent them the bowls in the store to take back. After a while, there were actually about 10 people who bought 2 or 5 tails and left. Xia Huanhuan looked on from the side. I also feel that it really deserves to be the capital city. If this were in other small counties, even if you opened a store, no one would dare to come in and buy it.
Why?
Although the service attitude of the state-run outlets is a bit misleading, at least they are honest and will not cheat you. Who knows if a private store will be short of money? Moreover, even if the policy has been issued, it still takes a lot of time to spread it to the lower levels. If you dare to open a store blatantly, someone may report it to the relevant departments as soon as you open the store, and then bring people to come and cause trouble for you. Therefore, the store here in Beijing was so popular on the first day of opening, which shows that everyone's acceptance of the policy is completely different from other remote places. Xia Huanhuan felt more confident. When she set up a street stall before, she actually felt that everyone should not exclude private people. Moreover, she set up the stall many times and no one came to say that she was disturbing the order, so she should not encounter any trouble after opening the shop. Worry. Now looking at the situation in braised food stores, there shouldn't be much of a problem in clothing stores. Seeing that there were already 4 or 5 people queuing up at the newly opened braised meat shop, Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan quietly left and went to the clothing store. At the clothing store, Qi Ningyu is waiting. The original agreement with Qi Jian was to let Qi Ningyu go to the braised meat shop to help, but Xia Huanhuan asked Qi Ningyu what he thought. After Qi Ningyu sold clothes with Xia Huanhuan several times, she became more interested in the clothing store. Therefore, Xia Huanhuan directly asked her to come to the clothing store to help. When setting up a street stall before, Qi Ningyu was given a commission. She would get a commission based on the amount of sales. Now there is also a commission, but it is much lower than when the stall was set up before. After all, Qi Ningyu had to take some risks when setting up a stall before, and it was also hard work being exposed to wind and sun. Now in the store she bought. Many of the customers who come to the store come for the store and the clothes in the area. Compared with when she set up a stall, the role of people is not that big. This is also the reason why Xia Tian Huanhuan explains the reason for the commission reduction. However, in addition to commission, there is also salary, which is 40 yuan a month, which is higher than the salary of senior workers in the factory. Coupled with the commission for every piece sold, it is a very high income. Qi Ningyu had nothing to say, so he happily came to work. Seeing Xia Huanhuan coming, Qi Ningyu hurriedly greeted him. "Sister Huanhuan, brother Li Zhan, you are here. Shall we set off firecrackers now?" Similarly, there is also a promotion, buy 2 pieces and get 20% off. The firecrackers crackled. This is on the street of Wangfujing. There are a lot of people. When they hear the sound of firecrackers, there are still many people surrounding them. Xia Huan and Qi Ningyu enthusiastically let everyone into the store to take a look. When the store was renovated, she replaced all the doors with glass doors and also knocked down a wall and installed glass, so the furnishings in the store can be seen from the outside. The clothes the owner sells are hung facing the window so that people can see them from the outside. Xia Huan regrets that there are no plastic mannequins with hangers like that. Otherwise, if he puts on some clothes and puts them in the window, the appeal will be more intuitive. The clothes in the store are already on display. They are all sweaters and jeans that Xia Huan brought back from Guangzhou. In addition, there are more than 20 coats. There were no warm cotton coats in Guangzhou, but the thick woolen coats were good. The purchase price for each was 12, so she brought 20 pieces, and the price was set at 18. In addition, there are 4 or 5 cotton padded coats filled with down and cotton. They are not handmade and have a good design. The waists are specially designed to pinch the waist, and there are also hats. The fabric is also similar to waterproof and windproof, not ordinary cotton and linen. These pieces were actually designed and rushed out by Xia Huan herself. There are no factories in Guangzhou that produce thick cotton padded clothes, but this is indispensable in winter. She drew 2 design drafts and also provided the fabric, cotton, and goose down. She commissioned Manager Li to find a factory to help make a few sets. Even with this kind of private help, the efficiency is relatively low. In more than 20 days, only 5 or 6 sets were made. Although the materials are all Xia Huan's, the processing fee alone costs 8 yuan for one piece. These cotton padded clothes that are similar to a mixture of down jackets and cotton jackets are priced at 25 by Xia Huan. However, the discount is that as long as you buy 2 or more pieces, the whole store will be discounted, without exception, so after the discount it will be 20 yuan each. At first, the onlookers were too embarrassed to come in, so they curiously watched from the door. Fu Nanjing took Yu Siju in first. Yu Siju picked out a loose sweater and a coat, and went to the fitting room to try them on. She came out and looked at herself in front of the huge floor-length mirror, and smiled. This dress is pretty good. However, Yu Siju was actually a stoogie. Xia Huan had already given her a loose sweater, so there was no need to buy one now. After her belly became obvious, the clothes she bought now could no longer be worn. With Yu Siju going in first, everyone went in one after another. They saw that the shop was clean and bright, with large mirrors everywhere. The most valuable thing was that there was even a fitting room. "Boss, you have a fitting room here? Do you mean we can try them on?" Xia Huan said with a smile. "Of course. Whether the clothes are good-looking or not, you can't tell if they are hanging. You must try them on. What if they don't fit after trying them on? You won't force us to buy them, right?" State-owned department stores don't allow people to try on clothes easily. Sometimes, if you accidentally open the packaging and try them on, you will be forced to buy them. Xia Huan said with a smile. "How could that be? Trying on clothes is free. If you don't think they fit, just put them down. You don't have to buy them." After hearing this, everyone couldn't help but pick a few pieces to try on. Soon someone paid for them. It was just after the Chinese New Year, and everyone still had some money in their hands, so in just one morning, more than 10 orders were sold. Those most expensive cotton coats were the most popular. Basically, those who liked them in the front and tried them on with gritted teeth finally bought them. The clothes are ankle length and look bulgy and thick, but when they take them off and touch them, they are soft and light, much lighter than ordinary cotton padded clothes. Moreover, although it is light, it feels warm after putting it on, which is in sharp contrast with the cotton padded clothes on their bodies. What's more, the selling price is 25 yuan, but with an 80% discount, it can be 5 yuan cheaper. And there are only 5 pieces. They will be gone once they're sold out. If you don't buy it, there will be several people waiting to buy it behind you. Therefore, the people who got the clothes gritted their teeth and paid for it. Xia Huan didn't expect that in a short while, all the cotton padded clothes she designed and made were sold out. And the cost of these 5 clothes is actually only the processing fee of 8 yuan. The fabric, cotton, and down are all in the space. Several customers who didn't buy came over and asked, Boss, this cotton-padded jacket is out of stock? When can it be restocked? Xia Huanhuan thought for a while and said with a smile, the manufacturer is out of stock too. I'll ask if there is any left, but it may take more than half a month. The customers couldn't help but feel a little regretful. However, Beijing will still be cold in more than half a month, so it's not impossible to wait. Therefore, they asked, Boss, I will definitely buy it next time you come back, and you must leave one for me. Xia Huanhuan agreed, with a smile. After staying in the store for most of the day, Xia Huanhuan handed the store to Qin Yu, and she and Li Zhan went back to the braised food store to take a look. In order to show his support for his daughter, Fu Weixin asked Aunt Chen to come and buy braised food, but Aunt Chen and Lin Yuru were refusing because of money. Sister Chen, we can't take this money. If we charge Huanhuan's father and grandfather for some braised food, what will happen? Xia Huanhuan came over and saw it and smiled. Aunt Chen, you should put the money away quickly. How can you pay for food at home? Don't be afraid of my dad scolding you. Wait until I go back and tell my dad and grandfather. Aunt Chen looked at Xia Huanhuan with embarrassment and finally had to put it away and smiled. Okay, then I'll keep it. By the afternoon, the braised food had been sold out. On the first day of opening, the amount prepared was not much, mainly to avoid selling overnight, and also to prevent Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru from being so tired. However, although the amount was not much, there were many categories prepared, mainly to see which categories could sell faster, so that there would be a focus later. After calculating for a day, it turned out that there was a revenue of 15 yuan. Lin Yuru couldn't believe her eyes.
Tis.
Is this really the money your father and I earn? We can earn 15 yuan a day, so we can earn hundreds of dollars a month, right? Xia Shuangshan said, if you can't count, don't count. Didn't Wanner buy this shop for free? And we also bought marinated ingredients, pig's trotters, pig's ears, beef offal, and various ingredients such as bean curd and dried bean curd. Which one of them doesn't cost money? After deducting all these, we have earned money. Lin Yuru listened to Xia Shuangshan scolding her and couldn't help muttering, you are the only one who can do it. You are the only one who knows. I made this marinated food at home, and it's our profit. What did you do besides cutting vegetables? Seeing that the two of them could quarrel, Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing and said quickly, Dad, Mom, making money is a happy thing. How can you still quarrel with each other? My dad also did a lot of work in painting the walls and laying the floors of the store. However, it's mainly because of Mom's good craftsmanship. To do business, there are costs, that's for sure. The money spent on buying a shop is a lot of money, but the shop itself may increase in price in the future. There is no need to calculate the cost for the time being. Just counting the ingredients and marinade, don't we buy them directly from the slaughterhouse? The price of beef and pork offal is 50 cents per pound, and bean curd, dried bean curd sticks, and kelp is 20 cents per pound. The marinade is used more for the first time, and if it is properly preserved later, even if new ones are added, it will not be much. The cost of this part can actually be controlled within 40% to 50%. Now that my family members are helping, there is no salary or other expenses, so today we made 15 yuan, and the actual net profit is about 9 yuan. In fact, the ingredients are all in Xia Huanhuan's space, so it is a net profit of 15 yuan. This is also the reason why Xia Huanhuan puts the catering industry in a major position in the design of the future business map. She has a prerequisite that is superior to anyone else, that is, the best ingredients with almost zero cost. The reason why it is almost zero is that she is only one person after all. Even if there is space, if the catering industry is expanded across the country in the future, she can't rely entirely on her own manpower to carry and deliver ingredients to various restaurants in person, right? Therefore, the later purchase must be combined with the ingredients in her space. However, this small braised food shop, including the steamed bun shop near the county train station, is actually not part of Xia Huanhuan's envisioned territory. The scale is a bit small, and it is more of a family workshop, so the money that can be made is limited. The braised food shop is mainly for Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru to have a livelihood. What she mainly wants is the restaurant next door that is still empty and used as a warehouse. However, Uncle Chi said last time that the government intends to rent out the restaurant, but there has been no substantial progress so far. Lin Yuru heard this and said with a smile, 9 yuan a day. That's a lot. How much can you make in a month? Xiaowen, calculate it for Grandma. Xiaowen smiled and said, Grandma, if it's 9 yuan a day, based on 30 days a month, you can make 270 yuan. 270 yuan.
My God.
Isn't this too profitable? Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Mom, you think too idealistically. Today is the first day of opening, and there are activities. Everyone is also fresh, so we sell a lot. Now everyone's life is tight. Which family can buy braised food every day? I estimate that after these 3 days of opening, we can make 2 or 3 yuan, 3 or 4 yuan a day, which is enough. 2 or 3 yuan a day. That's 70 or 80 yuan a month. Lin Yuru and Xia Shuangshan were still very happy when they heard this. In the past, the two of them came here to follow their daughter and son-in-law to enjoy the city. Although they also helped with housework and cooking, they always felt that they were eating for free. Otherwise, Xia Shuangshan would not have gone out to haul coal for others. Now, the old couple can earn dozens of yuan a month, which is higher than the allowances of the son-in-law and daughter. How can they not be happy? On the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, the bun shop in the county town was also going to open. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan took the early train early in the morning and arrived at 11 o'clock in the morning. Li Zhan asked Xia Huanhuan to use the space to go there in advance, but Xia Huanhuan did not agree. She was actually a little worried that Li Zhan would be depressed. Although Li Zhan also came when the 2 stores opened yesterday, she was actually busy alone from buying the shops to purchasing goods and opening them. She was a little worried that Li Zhan would feel lonely. If she let him come by train again, she would have to run around using the space, and she would feel a little guilty. Li Zhan took out an apple, gave it to her, and said with a smile, What are you thinking about? Xia Huanhuan took the apple and then asked guiltily, Li Zhan, you haven't been unhappy these 2 days, have you? Li Zhan was stunned for a moment, then asked with a smile, Why do you ask this suddenly? Why should I be unhappy? Xia Huanhuan took a bite of the apple and said, It's just, have I ignored you these 2 days? Li Zhan listened, glanced at her, and said faintly, You still know? Xia Huanhuan shrank her head and said, How about? You announced the opening today? Li Zhan continued to say coldly, Wait until these 2 busy days are over, and see how I deal with you. Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment. Why didn't his words make sense? Then she realized that Li Zhan was talking about the thing in bed. She couldn't help but feel angry and amused, and stuffed an apple into his mouth. Go away. I'm talking about serious things. You're the only one who thinks about those things every day. Li Zhan took the apple away, couldn't help but laugh, and then said seriously, It would be a lie to say that I'm not disappointed at all. I always feel that my wife seems to have put all her energy and focus on the business.
Well,
I feel a sense of crisis. Xia Huanhuan reflected on it and found that she was indeed running out through space at every turn. Not to mention Li Zhan, she hasn't even taken care of the kids at home recently. However, after all, it's just the beginning, and it's a bit hectic. I want to catch everything, and it's also possible to lose sight of one thing while focusing on another. Huanhuan, I believe you will find a balance. Don't worry, no matter what, I will always support you behind your back. Li Zhan continued. Xia Huanhuan's nose suddenly felt a little sour. She was obsessed with doing business. In fact, her family was not short of money. She just wanted a sense of accomplishment. If she neglected the time with her family because of this, then it would be better not to do business. Xia Huanhuan nodded and said solemnly, Well, Li Zhan, don't worry. I will think seriously about how to balance business and family matters. Seeing her so serious, Li Zhan couldn't help but raised his hand and touched her head and smiled. It's just the beginning now. There is no need to take this matter so seriously. The most important thing is not to tire yourself out. The two chatted all the way to the county town. The store is just opposite the train station, so it's not troublesome. Just went there. Wu Feng and Qin Shi were already waiting, and Master Lu was also wearing the chef's uniform, standing side by side with Qin Shi and the others. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan went there, first greeted Master Lu, and then greeted Wu Feng and Qin Shi. Without further ado, just like in Beijing, firecrackers were set off, and a sign was placed at the door for a grand opening sale. If you eat in the restaurant, you will get a fried egg for free. The chef in the kitchen is Master Lu. The store was originally 2 rooms, but they were merged into one. There are twice as many tables as before, with 8 tables. The main products of the store are yangchun noodles and fresh meat dumplings. There are also large steamed buns, large dumplings, pancakes, etc., which are only open for lunch and dinner. Ingredients such as flour, fresh pork, eggs, vegetables, etc. were all sent by Xia Huanhuan. After the opening ceremony, Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Master Lu, Li Zhan and I have been on the bus for the whole morning, so it's a good opportunity to taste your cooking skills. Qin Shi, we want 2 bowls of plain noodles, 2 steamed dumplings with fresh meat, and a portion of braised beef." Qin Shi agreed and handed the menu to Master Lu. The noodles were all freshly made and kneaded, and the meat filling was also ready. Master Lu listened and said, "Okay." He began to wrap the steamed dumplings skillfully, first steaming them in a pot, then pulling the noodles. After a while, the dough turned into long and thin noodles, which were directly boiled in boiling water. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the noodles were cooked, and they were taken out and scooped into the hot chicken soup that had been boiled in another pot, sprinkled with salt, chopped green onions and coriander, and then blanched a handful of green vegetables and put them in the noodle soup and added a fried egg, and then they were ready to be served. At this time, the steamed dumplings were ready, and Qin Shi brought them up for Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan to enjoy slowly. The braised beef was also braised in advance. If you want to eat beef noodles, just put a few pieces of beef in, which is convenient. There are a lot of people at the train station, so customers came in quickly. However, the best-selling items are big white steamed buns, big meat buns, pancakes, etc., and they're served with a bowl of plain noodles. Many people also come for the fried eggs. At 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the lunch market was about to end, Master Lu was a little unhappy. These people don't know what's good. Aren't these fresh meat dumplings better than those big white steamed buns and meat dumplings? Li Zhan couldn't help laughing and said, "Master Lu, calm down. There's nothing we can do about it. Many families still eat steamed buns now. These fresh meat dumplings are exquisite and delicious, but compared with the big white steamed buns and dumplings, they are still somewhat not cost-effective. Many people who come to the train station are out to make a living, so they will definitely save as much as possible." Master Lu knew that even when this store belonged to their Lu family, this area was a mixed bag, and most people bought big steamed buns. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Master Lu, let's take a look at the types of products we sell. We can't make them too highbrow, right? If the big steamed buns and dumplings sell quickly, we can make more steamed buns and dumplings to sell. Only by being more down-to-earth can we make money. However, these steamed dumplings are your specialty, so you must keep them. After some time, when everyone's life is better, someone will definitely be willing to eat them." Master Lu sighed and said, "Alas, I also know that everyone's life is hard. I'm just afraid that this skill will be lost slowly. Well, let's be more down-to-earth and make big steamed buns and dumplings to sell." Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Master Lu, you have to keep the check. For the meat and vegetable dumplings, what kind of fillings and ingredients do you want? Just tell me and I'll make it." After talking for a while, Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan were going to go to Zhou Qiuhua and Li Jie's store to take a look. Before leaving, they secretly gave the money for their meal to Qin Shi. Qin Shi couldn't help laughing and said, "Sister Huanhuan, isn't it your own store? Why are you still paying?" Xia Huanhuan said with a smile, "After all, this is the first business deal for Li Zhan and I. Let's have a good start. Come back later, I won't pay even if you ask me to." Then he took Li Zhan away. The store opened a few days earlier, on the 3rd day after the Chinese New Year. This is the 3rd day. The store also sells steamed buns, dumplings, fried dough sticks, pancakes, etc. In addition, there is millet and sweet potato porridge, or rice porridge, and radish and mutton soup in winter. When Xia Huanhuan and her friends went there There were 2 tables of customers coming in and shouting, "Boss, I want a bowl of mutton soup and 2 big steamed buns." Li Jie agreed and quickly served a bowl of mutton and radish soup from the big pot. It was full of radishes and 2 big pieces of mutton. It cost 1 yuan a bowl, which was not a loss at all. The big white steamed bun was also the size of a palm, and it cost 10 cents each, which was also quite affordable. Seeing Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan coming in, Li Jie happily wiped his hands on his apron and came over, saying with a smile, "Li Zhan, Huanhuan, you guys are here? I told you to open the shop, but I closed the shop all day and came here, but you wouldn't let me. How is the business over there?" Li Zhan said with a smile, "It's okay. Third brother, your business here seems to be pretty good." Li Jie smiled embarrassedly and said, "Thanks to the supply channels found by Huanhuan, this mutton is much cheaper than the ones sold in the market, and it's also very fresh. We can buy more if we give more, and it can also help to gain popularity." Xia Huanhuan nodded and said, "Third brother, your idea is right. Be honest in business, and you will have many repeat customers." Li Jie also said with a smile. Chuha said the same thing. "By the way, you guys do it, and I'll serve you a bowl of mutton soup." Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan hurriedly declined. "Third brother, don't bother. We just ate over there and came here." But Li Jie insisted. "Eat less after you've eaten. It's cold. Drink a bowl of mutton soup to warm yourself up."
Wait.
Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan had no choice but to sit down. Sure enough, Li Jie brought the mutton soup over in a while. There was not much seasoning, just some salt, and it had some mutton smell, but the mutton that Xia Huanhuan took out of her space was raised on good pasture, so the smell was not strong, and when she drank it, only the fragrance was left. Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan had just eaten their fill, and now they couldn't help but finish the whole bowl of mutton soup. The guests at the other 2 tables had also finished their meals, and Li Jie went over to collect the money, and then took the bowls and chopsticks back to the kitchen. After Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan finished the mutton soup, they said they were leaving. Li Jie said, "Look at you. You are in such a hurry to go back to Beijing? It's a rare trip back home. You can have dinner at home, stay 1 night, and then go back." Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan laughed and said, "We haven't told our families that we are not going back. They will be worried. Let's come back in a few days and talk about going home for dinner." After hearing this, Li Jie had to give up. Before leaving, Xia Huanhuan suddenly asked, "By the way, third brother, are there a lot of jobs in Luoqing recently?" Li Jie smiled and said, "A lot, but I'm away for half a month at a time, and I have to travel long distances. I go there once every month or so. If it's too frequent, I won't be able to take care of my family. Now that I have the store, I may not go there so often in the future." Xia Huanhuan nodded and smiled, "So that's how it is." On the way back, Li Zhan couldn't help feeling jealous. "You seem to care about Luoqing a lot?" Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment, then she smiled and asked, "Are you jealous?" Li Zhan glanced at her, turned away, and said, Who wants to be jealous of him?" Xia Huanhuan covered her mouth and smiled, saying, "I asked about Luoqing mainly because third brother can drive, right? If there is short-distance transportation in the future, I can ask third brother to help. However, if there is a lot of work in Luoqing, I plan to forget it." Li Zhan was stunned for a moment and asked, "Transportation? Don't you have space? Do you still need transportation?" Xia Huanhuan sighed and said, "You also said that I seem to have put all my energy into business now, right? I think I can't always do it myself. For some things, it would be easier to find someone to do it for me. She can't rely on her own space and work herself to death, right?" Li Zhan nodded and said, "It's best if you think so. You have been working too hard recently." These days, except for the New Year's Eve when they did it, Xia Huanhuan fell asleep as soon as she touched the pillow. She was too tired to be in the mood. After returning to Beijing, the vacation was almost over. Xia Huanhuan stayed at home to help the children check on their winter vacation homework, or help sell braised food, or go to the clothing store. Qinning Yu did a good job, and the store sold a lot of sweaters and jeans. However, from time to time, people still came to ask about the coat last time. Xia Huanhuan thought about making some more. However, the state-owned clothing factory in Guangzhou had its own orders, so even if she helped, there was a limit to what she could do. Xia Huanhuan thought about setting up a small clothing factory near Jing City. But first of all, a complete set of equipment was a problem. Xia Huanhuan thought of the textile factory in Mo County. Although it was called a textile factory in Mo County, it actually had a smaller garment workshop. The clothes sold in the county department store, and the work clothes in the factory were all produced there. Xia Huanhuan thought about it, and asked Li Zhan to help ask his old comrade in arms to see if the state-owned factory was willing to cooperate with her. She provided design patterns, fabrics, cotton, goose down, etc., and borrowed equipment from the garment workshop to make cotton-padded clothes. Li Zhan was stunned for a moment. "Can you design clothes?" Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Not really, I just have some styles in my mind that are not on sale now, and I want to try to make them." She is not a graduate of a professional school, but she had seen a lot before she traveled through time. Moreover, the styles of clothes nowadays are the same across the country. Just adding a ruffle will make people's eyes shine. Xia Huanhuan is just showing off her skills now. Later, she will still have to find a professional to design. Li Zhan nodded and said, "The last time I went to the county to see Lao Lu, he was still sighing because the textile factory had no orders and couldn't pay the wages."
"I'll go and ask."
Li Zhan immediately called County Magistrate Lu. After hearing what Li Zhan said, County Magistrate Lu thought he was joking at first. Lao Li, although there is a policy now, there is no restriction, and it can even be said that it encourages state-owned factories and private individuals to cooperate and revitalize resources. But how many pieces can your wife make? Isn't this nonsense? Li Zhan was a little unsure after hearing this, and said, "She said to make 100 pieces in the first batch, and the processing fee for one piece is 6 yuan. The rest of the needlework, fabrics, cotton, and goose down are all provided by us. But if it's not suitable, forget it. We can think of another way." Before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by County Magistrate Lu. "Wait, how many pieces did you say? 100? How long will the construction period be?" "Probably half a month. The last time I did it somewhere else, it took about this time. Half a month's construction period, 100 pieces, and a processing fee of 6 yuan per piece. That's 600 yuan in half a month, enough to pay a month's salary to 20 workers." County Magistrate Lu rubbed his hands and said, "Old Li, then you guys take some time to go back to the county. I'll ask the director of the textile factory and the workshop director of the garment workshop to come over and discuss with you to see how to do it." After hanging up the phone, Li Zhan couldn't help but be stunned. Why did old Lu suddenly change his mind? The next day, Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan went back to the county together. As expected, County Magistrate Lu came with the director and deputy director of the textile factory. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan were both shocked. Li Zhan laughed and said, "Old Lu, aren't you making too much of a fuss? Huanhuan means 100 cotton-padded clothes." Lao Lu said with a bitter smile, "Lao Li, you are in Beijing. You don't know the hardship of our small factory. When you just said that, I thought it was 3 or 5 pieces, and we could just find a tailor shop to make them. How could I know that you would make so many pieces?" The director of the textile factory, whose surname was Zhang, also laughed and said, 100 orders are enough for our garment factory to run for half a month. You don't know that the demand for cloth has dropped a lot now, and half of the workshops in our factory have stopped production. However, the workers' wages cannot be paid. They haven't been paid for 2 months. If we can have your orders, at least we can solve some people's wages a little. Xia Huanhuan didn't expect that the textile factory was so difficult now, so she said, "If the factory doesn't mind, I should have clothes to make in the spring and summer later. The quantity may not be large, and I will entrust them to the factory at that time." After listening, Director Zhang rubbed his hands and said gratefully, "Then we are definitely welcome. Comrade Xia, I heard that you and Comrade Li are both from Mo County. It's great that you don't forget your roots." The matter was settled. Xia Huanhuan was not vague. The next day, she sent the cloth, cotton, and goose down to the textile factory and asked them to start work. Cotton-padded clothes are mainly sold in winter. She actually started late, and it was still unknown whether all the 100 pieces could be sold. After the cotton-padded clothes are made, spring clothes will also be rushed to make. It is the most convenient to go to Guangzhou to wholesale the ready-made clothes and sell them back. However, Xia Huanhuan still wants to create her own clothing brand, so independent design and production and processing are essential. But building a factory is much more difficult than buying a store and opening a store. Xia Huanhuan has no worries about raw materials, but it will take time to prepare for the factory, equipment, and the future recruitment of workers. Therefore, Xia Huanhuan still plans to wholesale half of the ready-made clothes from Guangzhou City and design the other half by herself, combining them together. In this case, Xia Huanhuan has to draw the design draft in advance. Although she paid more attention to fashion before she traveled through time and had some painting skills, she was not a professional fashion designer after all, and she actually lacked a lot of basic knowledge. Fortunately, there are various professional books in her space, and she learned while doing it. She first drew the picture herself, then took out the fabric, cut it according to the size and shape, sewed it together, and then tried it on to see the effect, and changed the design if it was not suitable. Fortunately, she only planned to design one set of spring clothes, a knitted sweater with a little bat sleeves, and a slim wool skirt. Li Zhan felt so distressed when he saw Xia Huanhuan sitting in front of the table drawing pictures until late at night every night. However, he did not persuade or complain. His wife wanted to do this, but he could not help or share the burden. At least, he should not be resentful and hold her back. Therefore, Li Zhan did more housework and other things at home these days. After 9 o'clock in the evening, he would make her a bowl of noodles and cut a few pieces of mutton for her as a midnight snack. After working day and night for 7 or 8 days, the design draft was finally finalized. The knitted sweater has a lapel, and the pattern is also carefully designed by her. However, sweaters require special equipment, which is not available in the garment workshop of Mo County Textile Factory. Xia Huanhuan still went to Manager Li in Guangshi. Manager Li looked at the pattern and asked the factory's production manager before replying to her that it was okay. Manager Li couldn't help laughing and said, "Comrade Xia, did you design this sweater yourself? And the cotton padded jacket last time? I showed the design draft to the workshop director of our factory, and he said he had never seen your design. The patterns are fresh, with little trees and little deer, but the sleeves are so wide. Can they be sold?" Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Anyway, just make 100 pieces first, and there's no need to worry about inventory if they can't be sold." Manager Li nodded and said, "That's fine. The quotation is cheaper than the last cotton padded jacket, with a processing fee of 5 yuan per piece. However, will you still provide the wool yarn? Or will you use ours?" Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "I'll provide it, and the factory will just help weave it." She still had a lot of wool in her space. After she used up all of it, she would talk about purchasing. As for the wool skirt, she handed it over to Mo County for processing. The craftsmanship of wool skirts was much less than that of cotton padded clothes, so the processing period for 100 pieces was about 6 or 7 days, and the processing fee for each piece was 4 yuan. Therefore, about a week after the 100 cotton padded clothes were hung in the store, the sweaters and wool skirts designed by Xia Huanhuan were also displayed in the store. Xia Huanhuan directly asked Qiningyu to change into the clothes in the store from head to toe, with sweaters and wool skirts inside, and wearing a soft and warm cotton coat. She is a walking advertisement. Customers who come to the store see Qiningyu wearing it like this, which is beautiful and neat, and they can't help but try it on. A cotton coat is 25 yuan, and a sweater and a wool skirt are both 12 yuan, which are not cheap. After all, in the late 1970s and early 1980s, a military coat that was known as the best winter coat only cost more than 20 yuan. However, customers who have tried it in the store can actually feel that although this coat is light, it feels that the cotton used is only a thin layer when pressed, but it is very warm when worn. It is warmer than a thick and heavy military coat. Moreover, when the new products were put on the shelves, Xia Huanhuan still held a 3-day special offer, and any 2 pieces in the store could be discounted by 20%. In total, the coat is 20 yuan, and the sweater and wool skirt can be bought for less than 10 yuan. Although everyone is living a tight life now, there are still wealthy families in Beijing. When buying clothes in the store here, there is no need for cloth coupons or anything. Therefore, some people buy all 3 pieces directly and some buy only 2 pieces or buy one but choose a pair of animal leather gloves for 2 yuan, which is also considered 2 pieces. The 3 new products are actually selling well, and they can sell 7 or 8 pieces a day. After the new products were put on the shelves, Xia Huanhuan didn't pay much attention to the sales in the store and left it to Qiningyu. She just went there occasionally. Qiningyu couldn't help asking, "Sister Huanhuan, this coat is really warm, and why is it so light? Isn't it made of cotton?" Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Cotton and some goose down are used in it. Goose down is light and warm, so the clothes are so light." Goose down? It's goose feathers? How many geese do you have to kill to make one piece? Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing and said, "Goose down is not simply about killing the goose and using the goose feathers. It has to go through many processes before it can be used to make clothes. Whether it is goose down or duck down, not all goose feathers and duck feathers can be used. Only the down on the chest of geese and ducks can be selected to make it. It is fluffy and waterproof, and it needs to go through washing, drying, sterilization, separation, and other steps before it can be made into goose down or duck down. Therefore, it is not without reason that down is more expensive than ordinary cotton-filled cotton-padded clothes." However, Xia Huanhuan did not tell Qiningyu about these. "I only knew about this when I went to Shanghai before and saw materials like this from abroad on the market there." Qiningyu still said admiringly, "Sister Huanhuan, you know so much." After the clothing store had winter and spring clothes, Xia Huanhuan put her energy back into her studies. As for summer clothes, there were all kinds in Guangzhou, so she didn't plan to design them herself. Although Beijing is the center of the country, light industry is developed in Guangzhou after all. The price difference between the 2 cities in the north and south alone is already very profitable. Not long after school started in February, Yan Haotian sent a telegram saying that he was going abroad to carry out a mission. Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment, and then she calculated the time and knew what it was. She remembered that the mission should not take long, just over a month. However, since she was going to the battlefield, Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but feel a little worried. She was afraid that Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru would be worried after hearing this, so she kept it a secret and said that she was going to carry out a small mission and it was not dangerous. However, she still asked about Qinlu. After all, Qinlu and her brother had been dating since last summer. Yan Haotian should have sent her a telegram to tell her about such a big thing. As a result, when she asked, Qinlu's eyes widened in surprise, and then her eyes were filled with worry and panic. She grabbed Xia Huanhuan's hand. "Huanhuan, what did you say?"
He
is going to the battlefield?" Xia Huanhuan looked at her and felt that something was wrong. Could it be that Yan Haotian was afraid that Qinlu would worry, so he deliberately kept it a secret from her? But Qinlu seemed to be guilty, so it didn't seem like that. Moreover, she had been busy recently, so she didn't notice it. But now that she thought about it, Qinlu seemed to be restless these days and seemed to be avoiding her intentionally or unintentionally. "Qinlu, you and my brother are not going well?" Qinlu's face turned pale in an instant, and she lowered her head in shame. Then she stammered, My family doesn't agree." When Qinlu said this, Xia Huanhuan knew it. It seems that her brother's love did not go smoothly. Qinlu is a good person, but her temper is indeed a little soft, the kind of good girl. It is understandable that she did not stand firm because of her family's opposition. Xia Huanhuan had no intention of judging her. After all, matters like feelings have always been a matter between 2 people. If one party backs down, even if they're forced to be together, all kinds of problems will arise in the future. She smiled and asked, "Break up?" Qinlu's face turned red and white in an instant, and she apologized shamefully. "Huanhuan, I'm
sorry."
Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "It's nothing. You listened to your family and broke up with my brother. Maybe your relationship is not to that extent, and you don't like him that much in your heart. This is your own business. You don't have to apologize to me." Qinlu bit her lip, and a moment of confusion flashed in her eyes. In her heart, didn't she like Yan Haotian that much? Qinlu couldn't help feeling a little lost. If she really didn't like Yan Haotian that much, why did her heart feel like it was being pulled to death by something? Her family felt that Yan Haotian was not from Guangzhou, and although he was a soldier, he might still be transferred somewhere else, so they still disagreed. Chen Lu protested several times, but her mother forced her by going on a hunger strike, and in the end, she had no choice but to compromise. Although Yan Haotian was in pain when he heard her ask for a breakup, he still respected her decision and agreed. After that, Yan Haotian, who used to wait for her downstairs of her house from time to time, never came to see her again. During the Chinese New Year, he still asked people to send gifts such as pork ribs, candy, and eggs. On the day when she took the train back to school, she seemed to feel from a distance that someone in the crowd was looking at her. But after looking carefully, she couldn't find him. It was not until the train started and was getting faster and faster that she saw the fleeting familiar figure on the platform. Chen Lu couldn't help but burst into tears. It was also at that time that she realized that he missed her so much in his heart. After arriving at school, she hesitated for several days and finally couldn't help writing a letter to Yan Haotian, telling her about her lovesickness and her apology for giving up their love because she was too weak at that time. She wanted to reconcile with him. As for her family, she also planned to argue with her parents. However, this letter has never been replied. She originally thought that he was angry, didn't love her anymore, and didn't want her. But she didn't expect that he went to the battlefield. Chen Lu was so worried that she didn't sleep well all night, hiding in the quilt to wipe her tears. Early the next morning, Xia Huanhuan saw her dark circles and eyes that were swollen like walnuts, and couldn't help being stunned. Without waiting for Xia Huanhuan to ask, Chen Lu eagerly grabbed her hand and asked, "Huanhuan, is there any latest news?"
He
won't contact me again." Seeing her like this, even with a crying tone, Xia Huanhuan knew in her heart that Chen Lu should also like Yan Haotian. However, if you like someone but don't dare to bravely defend your love, then your love is powerless. Xia Huanhuan shook her head and said, "It's only been a day. Even if my brother sent a new telegram, it won't be delivered so quickly. Don't worry. If there is any latest news, I won't hide it from you." Chen Lu nodded, but still looked lost. Xia Huanhuan sighed and didn't say anything else. She remembered that this operation seemed to last for more than a month. But when it came to Yan Haotian's safety, she didn't dare to guarantee it. This matter couldn't be told to Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru, so Xia Huanhuan secretly told Li Zhan. Li Zhan was also in the army. Although he was not from the same military district, he did no more than Xia Huanhuan. But he couldn't reveal the details, so he just said, "Don't worry, I have asked the military district over there to keep an eye on it. If anything happens to your brother, they will tell me as soon as possible." Xia Huanhuan nodded and said grateful, "Li Zhan, thank you." Li Zhan couldn't help but hold her and laughed. "What do you think me between our husband and wife?" He looked at Xia Huanhuan just, "Huanhuan, what happened to you today?"
How do you talk about it?
"Don't do anything bad. Afraid I am angry. So I said these sugar-coated artillery in advance?" Xia Huanhuan was so angry and funny. As soon as he was overwhelmed, he responded. I also doubted her. Xia Huanhuan, she rolled her eyes at him and smiled. "That's more like it." Li Zhan looked at her deeply and said, "Huanhuan, me too. Marrying you in this life is my greatest blessing." Xia Huanhuan was overwhelmed by his sudden affection. "Don't be so serious all of a sudden. I'm a little uncomfortable." Li Zhan glared at her unhappily and smiled through gritted teeth. "Who started it? Now you blame me? Let me show you how I'm going to deal with you." After the two of them played around for a while, Xia Huanhuan told Li Zhan that Chen Lu had broken up with Yan Haotian because of her family's opposition. "When I see my brother and Chen Lu, I feel that we are so good together." Li Zhan also sighed, hugged his wife more cherishingly, and said, "Of course. We are their role models. Let them learn well. However, as you said, Chen Lu seems to like your brother very much. I think there may be a turning point." Xia Huanhuan nodded and said, "I hope so." This operation was just as Xia Huanhuan expected, and it lasted for more than a month before it ended. Yan Haotian also came back, but he was injured. He was shot in the chest, but fortunately the bullet just missed the heart and other important organs, so he was saved. Although this operation lasted only 1 month, there were more than 30,000 casualties. which was tragic. Yan Haotian was just one of them. Yan Haotian was first sent back to the military hospital in Guangshi for treatment. Li Zhan got the news first and secretly told Xia Huanhuan that night. Xia Huanhuan was anxious and hesitated whether to tell Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yu the news. If she didn't tell them, if Yan Haotian couldn't make it, they might not even be able to see him for the last time. But if she told them, I was also afraid that they would be shocked and passed away all of a sudden. Li Zhan pondered for a moment and said, I will make a report and ask if he can be transferred to a hospital in Jing City so that his family members can be around and take better care of him. According to the news from there, he is still unconscious, but his condition is relatively stable. If he can be transferred, tell them, and they can go to see your brother immediately, and they won't be so anxious. Xia Huanhuan listened, nodded, and said in a trembling voice, Okay. Then I will go there through the space tomorrow to have a look.
Li Zhan said, Well,
don't worry too much. He can hold on in such a bad situation on the battlefield. Now he has returned to China, and he will be fine. The next day, Xia Huanhuan went to Guang City through the space. Fortunately, Yan Haotian's comrades knew Xia Huanhuan, and they met Yan Haotian smoothly. Xia Huanhuan vaguely said that she happened to come to Guang City to do something these days, so she rushed there immediately. Yan Haotian had not woken up yet. He had a bandage on his chest and was still receiving N4. The doctor said that if the wound doesn't get infected and worsen after these 2 days, the danger period should be over. Yan Haotian's comrade said. Xia Huanhuan nodded and said, Oh, that is good. That night, Xia Huanhuan accompanied him in the ward. At home, Li Zhan lied that she went to sleep at a classmate's house. The army made arrangements quickly, and the next day there was news that it agreed to use a special plane to transfer Yan Haotian and several seriously injured soldiers to Jing City. Xia Huanhuan did not accompany them on the special plane, but returned through space. After returning to Jing City, she told Chen Lu about Yan Haotian's injury. Chen Lu's face turned pale, and tears flowed down. She held Xia Huanhuan's hand tightly and asked in a trembling voice, Is he okay? Where is he now? In Guang City.
I
will take leave and go back immediately. Seeing that she was so anxious, Xia Huanhuan's estrangement caused by her retreat was somewhat eliminated. Although she knew that dating was a matter between the two parties, Chen Lu backed off, and as a bystander, she had nothing to say. However, people always have different feelings for each other. No matter how good her relationship with Chen Lu was, Yan Haotian was definitely more important than Chen Lu.
Don't worry.
The army has agreed to send my brother and several other seriously injured soldiers to Jing City by special plane. They should arrive tomorrow. My family is here, so it's easier to take care of them. After hearing this, Chen Lu nodded somewhat helplessly, but couldn't help worrying.
But
will he refuse to see me? Will he blame me? If she had known that he was going to carry out such a dangerous mission, even if she had a falling out with her family, she would never have broken up with Yan Haotian before the new year. Although he respected her choice and never pestered her, she knew that he must have been feeling bad. What kind of mood did he have on the battlefield? The next day, Yan Haotian was transferred to the military hospital in Jing City. Li Zhan, Xia Huanhuan, and Chen Lu rushed there as soon as possible. Yan Haotian had woken up after arriving in Jing City, but his consciousness was still a little confused. The doctor also checked that the wound was not infected. He should be able to recover as long as he rested. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan walked in. Xia Huanhuan forced a smile and said, Brother, you finally woke up. Yan Haotian was stunned when he saw Xia Huanhuan and asked weakly, Huanhuan Li Zhan? Why are you here? This is China? I'm not. Xia Huanhuan hurriedly said, Brother, this is Jing City. After you were shot, your comrades carried you from the battlefield to the field hospital and then sent you back to Guang City. Li Zhan asked the military region to coordinate and transfer you to Jing City for treatment. You have been unconscious for 9 days.
Oh.
So that's it. His memory still stayed at the bullet whistling in his ears, and then his chest suddenly hurt, and then he was confused and carried by someone.
Dad and Mom don't know, right?
Yan Haotian asked. Xia Huanhuan shook her head and said, I didn't dare tell them. However, the doctor said that you have improved. I plan to tell them today when I go back. They should be able to come to see you early tomorrow morning. Yan Haotian nodded and said, That's fine. Just don't let them worry too much. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, I know. By the way, brother, there is another person who wants to see you. Yan Haotian was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes lit up, but then dimmed again. He opened his mouth but didn't say a word. Chen Lu had already appeared at the door timidly. His eyes were swollen like walnuts, and seeing Yan Haotian's pale face, he couldn't help crying again. Xia Huanhuan pulled Li Zhan out and said, Brother, you and Chen Lu have a good talk. After Chen Lu knew that you went to the battlefield, she has been worried about you. After hearing that you were injured, she almost bought a ticket to go back to Guangzhou to take care of you. She could only help here. Whether it can be successful depends on the luck of Chen Lu and Yan Haotian. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan went out and closed the door considerately. The two of them were left alone, and Chen Lu felt a little uneasy. She carried a net bag of apples, walked to the bedside and sat down, not daring to look at Yan Haotian, and asked incoherently, Haotian, how are you? Does the wound hurt? I'll peel an apple for you. As she spoke, she took the fruit knife next to her and peeled the apple. Yan Haotian looked at her without blinking, and his heart couldn't help softening. Chen Lu, do your family know that you came to see me? Yan Haotian asked softly. Chen Lu paused for a moment with the fruit knife in her hand, then bit her lip and shook her head gently. Yan Haotian looked at her for a while before moving his eyes away. He sighed softly and said, Chen Lu, I'm fine. I'm sorry for making you so worried. You sit for a while, and then go back. If others know about this, it will be bad for you. Chen Lu's face turned pale, her hands trembled, and her white fingers were cut, and blood immediately flowed out. Seeing this, Yan Haotian was anxious and wanted to sit up to check. Why are you so careless? Let me see. However, his movement suddenly affected the wound, and sweat immediately broke out on his forehead due to the pain. Chen Lu hurried to help him and said, I'm fine. Lie down and don't move. Yan Haotian lay down helplessly and said, You've lost so much blood, and you're still fine? I'll ask the nurse to come.
No.
Chen Lu pressed the wound tightly with her clothes and said stubbornly. Yan Haotian was stunned for a moment and looked at her quietly. Chen Lu looked at him, tears in her eyes, and said in a low but firm voice, Haotian, I won't leave. I won't leave again.
You
Don't chase me away, okay? I was wrong before. I shouldn't have been so weak. Just listened to my parents and broke up with you. Haotian, I want to marry you. Yan Haotian's heart beat violently when he heard her say this. But he quickly restrained himself, looked at Chen Lu, and said, Chen Lu, don't act on impulse, your family. Before he finished speaking, Chen Lu suddenly leaned over impulsively and kissed him on the lips. Yan Haotian's eyes widened suddenly. Chen Lu was also bold for a moment. After the kiss, her face turned red like the sunset in the sky, and she wanted to run away immediately. However, Yan Haotian, who came to his senses, did not give her a chance. He grabbed Chen Lu's head forcefully and took over.
Well.
Chen Lu was shy and frightened, afraid that someone would come in suddenly and see her. But she didn't dare to struggle. Yan Haotian was still injured. When she moved a little, Yan Haotian showed a painful expression on his face. How could he dare to move again? However, Yan Haotian still restrained himself and let her go after a while. He looked at Chen Lu seriously and stubbornly, and said softly, Chen Lu, think it through. Last time, I respected your choice. This time, if you choose to start over with us, then next time if you compromise again and want to break up with me again, I will not let go easily. Chen Lu looked at Yan Haotian shyly, biting her lips that were a little red and swollen from being kissed, with a firm light flashing in her eyes. She nodded solemnly and said, Haotian, I am serious.
I
don't want to break up with you. If you don't believe me, my organizational relations are all in the school. When you get better, we will go to get the marriage certificate immediately.
If
you still wish. If you are willing. Yan Haotian saw her eager look and knew that she was really determined and brave this time. The haze in his heart these days could not help but be swept away. He held Chun Lu's hand tightly with his big hand and smiled. Your organizational relationship is in the school, and mine is still in the army. Besides, you have to file a marriage report. You can't just get married. You are too anxious. Chun Lu's face turned redder. The girl's reserve made her stutter and said, I'm not that anxious. Yan Haotian didn't expose her. She had said twice that she wanted to marry him after coming here. He smiled dotingly, okay. You are not anxious, but I am anxious to marry you. However, we still have to wait a little longer. As for your family, I will go to propose marriage when we return to Guangzhou. After all, marriage is a big deal. If your parents don't agree, we can't just go and get the certificate without caring about it. If we do that, it will hurt your parents' hearts too much. Chun Lu's nose felt a little sour. She had actually planned to keep it a secret from her family and get the marriage certificate with Yan Haotian first, and then tell her family about the plan after the matter was settled. By then, her parents would definitely be angry, but she had already let Yan Haotian down once, and if she backed down again this time, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Unexpectedly, Yan Haotian was still thinking about her and couldn't bear to let her get married without her parents' blessings. But my parents. Thinking of how her own parents rejected Yan Haotian, and her mother even threatened to go on a hunger strike. Don't worry, I'm a tenacious fighter. When I have time in the future, I will show my presence, and I will definitely move them. Chun Lu came out of the ward. Seeing her blushing face, Xia Huanhuan knew that the two of them must have talked it out and reconciled. She walked over and smiled. What? Are you reconciled again? Chun Lu nodded shyly and said, Well, Huanhuan, can I borrow your kitchen? I want to make soup for Haotian. The food in the cafeteria is not nutritious enough. Xia Huanhuan pursed her lips and smiled, and said, Don't worry about the diet. My parents will worry about it.
But
since you said so, the food cooked by your lover is different from that cooked by your parents. I will definitely agree to you. Anyway, the ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law. You can meet them in advance. Chun Lu couldn't help but pat Xia Huanhuan, gritted his teeth and laughed. You just like to make fun of me. In the afternoon, Chun Lu really followed Xia Huanhuan back to the courtyard. Xia Huanhuan told Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru about Yan Haotian's injury, and the two were really anxious. Lin Yuru almost fainted. Xia Shuangshan was so anxious that he had to go to the train station to buy a ticket and rush to Guangzhou. Xia Huanhuan quickly said, Dad, Mom, my brother is fine. Li Zhan has applied to transfer my brother to Jingshi for treatment and recuperation. My brother just arrived in Jingshi today and is now in the military hospital. I came back to take you to see my brother. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru looked at Xia Huanhuan in a daze and asked, Really? Why didn't you tell us earlier? Xiao Tian is really okay? Li Zhan came over and said, Dad, Mom, Huanhuan said it's true. We are afraid that you are so old. If we tell you earlier, you will be anxious and can't see him immediately, which will hurt your body. So, we have kept it a secret until now. We will take you to the hospital to see him now. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru nodded desperately and said, Okay. Let us go now. At that moment, Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan took Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru to the hospital again. Chun Lu did not go with them. She went to the vegetable market to pick out the best old hens and pig stomachs. She also went to the pharmacy to buy Chinese angelica, astragalus, rhodiola, ginseng, and other Chinese medicinal materials that can promote the healing of medicinal materials and prevent infection. In addition, there are fresh pork, eggs, vegetables, etc. Chun Lu used a casserole to boil the angelica, astragalus, pork tripe, and chicken soup, and then made other dishes. Yan Haotian was injured and could not eat spicy food or seafood. Therefore, the other dishes were only barbecued pork, a fried egg, and a blanched Chinese cabbage heart and white porridge. After they were done, they were packed in a lunchbox and then hurried back to the hospital. In the hospital, Lin Yuru was worried and kept wiping tears. If the injured part was on the leg or something, it would be fine. But the wound was on the chest, and it was a blessing to be able to save his life. As a mother, She had lost her son and did not fulfill her responsibilities as a mother. Now, seeing her son was so seriously injured, she could not do anything and she felt really bad. Instead, Yan Haoyan comforted her and smiled. "Mom, don't cry. Look, I'm fine, right? If you cry again, I will cry with you and the wound will split even more." After hearing this, Lin Yuru quickly wiped away her tears and said, "Mom, don't cry anymore. By the way, are you hungry? You see, I was so anxious that I forgot to make some hot meals and dishes for you."
Oh.
Mom will go back now. Xia Huanhuan quickly pulled her and said with a smile, "Mom, don't worry about cooking. Someone has already made it and sent it over." Lin Yuru was stunned for a moment. "Someone has already made it? Who?" Xia Huanhuan glanced at Yan Haoyan and smiled. "Who?" "Your future daughter-in-law." Lin Yuru was stunned for a moment, and then she remembered that the girl named Chen Lu had just gone home with Xia Huanhuan. However, when Xia Huanhuan mentioned Yan Haoyan, Lin Yuru was so anxious that she was at a loss, and she ignored the girl.
Oh.
"I was so anxious just now. It was the first time for the girl to come to my house, and I didn't even say a few words. How could I ask her to cook? I'll go back quickly." "Mom, you don't understand this. My brother is injured, and his girlfriend wants to cook for him. That's the friendship between the couple. You insist on not letting her do it. Isn't that wasting their time?" Xia Shuangshan also coughed twice and said, "Don't meddle in the affairs of young people." Yan Haoyan was a little embarrassed by what he said, but he couldn't help feeling happy in his heart. In a while, he would be able to eat the meal cooked by his wife. No, his future wife. After hearing this, Lin Yuru had to give up. After a while, Chen Lu really rushed to the hospital with a lunchbox. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan naturally went out with Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru, leaving the two alone. Chen Lu's face was burning. He took out the still hot pork tripe and chicken soup and served a bowl of it in a small bowl. Yan Haoyan didn't dare to move in his current condition. Chen Lu had to use a spoon to feed him the soup mouthful by mouthful. After drinking a bowl of soup, he fed Yan Haoyan some of the porridge covered with barbecued pork and blanched Chinese cabbage. Yan Haoyan didn't dare to eat too much a few days after the operation. After he ate a little, he pushed it back and said with a smile, "You've been busy for so long and you haven't eaten anything, right? You can eat the rest." Ever since Chen Lu knew that Yan Haoyan went to the battlefield, she has been unable to sleep or eat. Today she has been worried and nervous all day. Only now does she really feel hungry. I'm not hungry." Chen Lu wanted to be stubborn, but suddenly her stomach growled. Yan Haoyan laughed and said, "Your stomach is growling, and you still say you're not hungry?" Chen Lu had no choice but to drink some chicken soup and porridge with a red face. That night, Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru said they wanted to stay with him, but they were persuaded by Xia Huanhuan to come back. After all, if they were there, Chen Lu would be embarrassed to stay, right? The military hospital arranged a single ward with an empty bed, so Chen Lu stayed there to accompany him. Time passed quickly. Yan Haoyan had been in the hospital for almost a month. During this time, Chen Lu had been taking good care of him, and their relationship had returned to the state of being inseparable before they broke up. Xia Huanhuan, on her part, began to sell the home appliances she bought from Chen Rongxing. Of course, the 3 color TVs, 3 fully automatic washing machines, 5 single-drum washing machines, and 2 refrigerators would not be sold all. The color TVs, automatic washing machines, and refrigerators were all to be kept for home use, 1 for each courtyard, and the Fu family also planned to send 1 each. The extra fully automatic washing machine was intended to be given to Fu Nanjing and Yu Siju. The remaining 5 single-drum washing machines were to be sold. However, Xia Huanhuan did not give them all away at once, otherwise it would be a problem to explain where the money came from and where the items that required foreign exchange coupons were bought from. So she gave away the practical washing machine first. The refrigerator can be given away later in the summer. As for the color TV, there is no rush. Even so, Fu Weixin, Mr. Fu, and Fu Nanjing were very confused about where they got it. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "The clothing store and the braised food shop are doing well now, and the daily income is several dozen. It is enough to buy a washing machine in half a month." This was bought from Guangzhou City and sent over. There was the Canton Fair there before, and now it is open, so you can buy it without foreign exchange coupons. This was bought by my classmate who has a Canton Fair in Guangzhou City and found a way to buy it. After hearing this, Fu Weixin and Old Man Fu did not suspect anything. But Fu Nanjing was not so easy to fool, so he asked him privately. Xia Huanhuan told him half-truthfully that she went to Guangzhou last year, and Li Zhan happened to rescue a man from Hong Kong at the train station. Later, they started to communicate and found out that he was in the foreign trade business, so she got some goods from Hong Kong through him and sold them in Beijing. Fu Nanjing was familiar with Luo Cheng, who was in this business. Therefore, Fu Nanjing did not show any special surprise but just said, "This kind of transaction is still quite risky, so you should be careful." After saying that, he still took out 1,000 yuan and insisted on giving it to Xia Huanhuan. Xia Huanhuan quickly declined, but Fu Nanjing was also stubborn and said, "You take it. The one you gave to your family is your filial piety, I don't care. However, I won't let you spend money on this one for me and seize you." Xia Huanhuan sighed and said, "Third brother, this washing machine is 600 yuan including shipping fee. If you give me 1,000 yuan, I will make money from you, right? I will take 600 yuan. Is that okay?" In fact, the price of a washing machine delivered in Guangzhou is 600 yuan, but if it is transported to Beijing by ordinary transportation, at least another 100 yuan will be added for freight. However, Xia Huanhuan directly transported it through the space, so she saved this part of the money. Fu Nanjing listened and did not insist, so he took back the 400 yuan. The remaining 5 single-drum washing machines are all large items, and it is definitely not appropriate to sell them on the street. Xia Huanhuan found Dahe and asked him to help with the shipment. The purchase price of a single-drum washing machine is 100 yuan per unit, and Xia Huanhuan gave Dahe a price of 180 yuan, making a net profit of 80 yuan per unit. No industrial coupons are needed. As for what price Dahe can sell it at and how much she can earn, it depends on Dahe's ability. In the late 1970s, a domestically produced Beijing Bailon single-drum washing machine sold in department stores also cost 199 yuan, and an industrial coupon was required to buy it. However, Xia Huanhuan's 5 single-drum washing machines were imported and popular, and anyone with money could buy them. Therefore, the minimum price can be sold for 200 yuan, 220 yuan, or even higher. Dahe was naturally happy to agree. He has a wide network of contacts, and this washing machine is in short supply. Not to mention 5, 10, or 20 units can be sold out quickly. He doesn't make much money from each unit, so he sells it for 220 yuan. In this way, he can make 40 yuan from each unit and 200 yuan from 5 units. This is only 10 days, or half a month. With such a basically risk-free source of goods and huge profits, he is of course happy. Sister Wana, you are so amazing. Even Brother Luo can't keep the price of these large washing machines so low. If there is such an opportunity in the future, you must remember me, Dahe. Xia Huanhuan said with a smile. Don't flatter me first. Sell these units first, and then talk about the future. Dahe smiled and said, Okay. Then Sister Wana, you just wait for my good news. Sure enough, within 10 days, Dahe had sold all 5 single-drum washing machines. He gave Xia Huanhuan 180 yuan for each washing machine and couldn't help asking, Sister, do you have anything else to sell? When I was selling, many people asked about sewing machines and refrigerators. Oh, and TVs. At worst, didn't you get watches, belts, and the like last time? Those are fine too, just give them to me and I will definitely sell them all. Xia Huanhuan looked at him and smiled. You've made 1 or 200 this time, right? What's going on? Are you short of money? Dahe touched his head and smiled. Hee, isn't this a man who hasn't married yet? He's thinking about saving money to buy a house so that he can marry a wife. Brother Luo has been spending more time in Shanghai and Guangzhou these years, and there is not much work to do in Beijing. Dahe was also born in a poor family with many brothers. Including his 4th child, there were 7 children in total, and the family of 9 lived in 2 small houses in a large courtyard. He grew up in the alleys and later met Luo Cheng. He just followed Luo Cheng. Over the years, he made a lot of money, but he gave it all to his family, bought houses for his brothers, paid for betrothal gifts, paid for the tuition of his younger brothers and sisters, and the living expenses of the family. Now his two older brothers are married, and his eldest sister is also married, so it's his turn, but he doesn't have much money. It's not realistic to build a house in a large courtyard. The yard is so small, and there are 4 or 5 families living in it. If you occupy the yard, other families will definitely say something. Dahe's father originally had a job, but his eldest brother took over his job, and the people below him were out of work. At that time, the second brother and eldest sister went to the countryside. He was mainly because his father was not flexible, so they agreed to let him stay in the city, but he didn't arrange a job. So, there is no chance to wait for the unit to distribute houses. He can only buy outside. But even a private house in a large courtyard costs thousands of dollars. Xia Huanhuan thought for a while and said, it may take some time for brand new ones to be available, but there are a batch of second-hand ones. They should be functional and can be sold. Xia Huanhuan was talking about the second-hand bicycles, sewing machines and the like that she had stockpiled before she traveled through time. She originally planned to use them for her own use, but now that she has a way to buy new ones, she can get rid of them. When Dahe heard this, he couldn't help but laugh and said, Sister, you'll be my sister in the future. Second-hand ones may be more popular than new ones. Leave it to me. I guarantee that you can sell them at a good price. Seeing how happy he was, Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Then you should go to the courtyard house near Beijing University in a few days, and I will give you the goods. After the agreement, Xia Huanhuan went to the hospital to see Yan Haotian. It was about to enter May, and the weather was getting warmer and warmer. The spring clothes in the clothing stores should basically be taken off the shelves and replaced with summer clothes. As for the summer clothes, Xia Huanhuan did not design them herself and planned to purchase them from Guangzhou. This time, she didn't plan to buy all the goods from Manager Li, otherwise the styles would be too monotonous. Summer clothes have a low unit price, so she can prepare more styles and larger quantities. Moreover, as Dahe said, she also planned to buy another batch of electrical appliances, watches, belts, sunglasses, and the like, so she had to go to Guangzhou again. When she arrived at the hospital, Xia Huanhuan put the cherries she took out of the space on the table. Chun Lu was there too, and happened to have bought some newly launched cherries. When Xia Huanhuan came in, Chun Lu was just feeding Yan Haotian with one. Seeing Xia Huanhuan coming in, Chun Lu blushed and stuttered. Huanhuan, no. It's Haotian's injury. He can't move around yet. After saying that, his face became even redder. After a month of recuperation, Yan Haotian's wounds recovered quickly. He was still full of energy, and went out for a walk 2 days ago. How could he not move around? Xia Huanhuan suppressed her laughter and teased. Oh, so that's how it is. Yan Haotian looked at his sister and said with a smile, Chun Lu is thin-skinned. Don't tease her. Xia Huanhuan said with a smile. Brother, you re-protecting her like this before she even gets married? Chun Lu stamped her feet in shame. Huanhuan, if you say that again, I'm going to get angry. Xia Huanhuan said with a smile. Okay, I won't say anything. It just so happens that I also bought some cherries on the way, but it seems that someone has already eaten them. Chun Lu's face became even hotter. Xia Huanhuan didn't wait for Chun Lu to speak, and said, Then I'll go back first, and won't disturb you. With that, she left. She took out some more cherries from the space, first sent some to the Fu family, and then went back to the courtyard and put a full plate in Yang Qiusher's room, Shen Wanque and Rong Zhenbang's room, and Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru's room, and put the rest in the main room. Chun Yan was washing clothes in a washing machine, and while washing, she was struggling to read the words written on the washing machine. Xia Huanhuan heard her clumsily reading in a low voice while tracing the 2 words on the panel of the washing machine with her fingers, and her heart was moved. Chun Yan, come and help me wash the cherries. Let's eat cherries. Chun Yan was startled when Xia Huanhuan came back at this time and quickly ran to the water well, as if she was caught, and smiled a little guilty. Fourth aunt, I just want to take a look at this washing machine. How can people be so smart? Put the clothes in the washing machine, turn on the power, and the clothes will be washed clean with clangs. Xia Huanhuan smiled. Isn't it? In addition to the washing machine, there is also a refrigerator and a TV. Our family will buy them in the future. Chuanyan's eyes lit up and asked excitedly, the refrigerator is a machine that can freeze even in the hot summer, right? I saw it in Beibei's book. You said it's so hot in summer. How can it freeze? Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, that's because there is a refrigeration substance added inside, and then it is compressed by a compressor, and the refrigeration system is working. However, I don't know more details. Chunyan still looked at Xia Huanhuan with envy and admiration. Fourth aunt, you are amazing. You know everything. Just as they were talking, Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yiru came back with Xiaowen, Xiaowu, Beibei, and the triplets. The braised food shop is now open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In this way, Lin Yiru doesn't need to prepare too much braised food every day, just enough to sell for half a day. It doesn't delay Xia Shuangshan from going to school to pick up the children. In this era, there are not so many human traffickers, and there are not many cars on the road. It is not so dangerous. The children go to school by themselves, led by the older ones. If they are rural children, it is also very common to walk 10 miles over mountains and ridges to go to school. However, the triplets were once kidnapped by Lu Lan and human traffickers, and Yan Haotian had been sold by Xia Dazhuang and Li Tsuehua since he was a child. Xia Shuangshan refused to stop picking up the children. When the triplets returned home, they saw Xia Huanhuan washing cherries and ran over.
Wow.
Cherries. I'll eat one first. I want one too. Xia Huanhuan said with a smile. Don't just eat yourselves. Take this plate over to Grandpa and Grandma, and there are also ones for Big Brother, Second Brother, and Sister. The triplets agreed and took a plate of red cherries over to Xia Shuangshan, Lin Yiru, and others. Xia Huanhuan and Chunyan washed the others and took them back to the main room together. At this time, Yang Qiushi, Shen Wanxue, and Rong Zhenbang also came in. After Yang Qiushi moved to the courtyard, Xia Huanhuan secretly told Fu Nanjing about his situation and also told him that she followed Yang Qiushi to learn Chinese medicine. She wanted Fu Nanjing to see if she could ask the hospital if they could hire Yang Qiushi as a doctor. Fu Nanjing had seen Xia Huanhuan's medical skills. After hearing about Yang Qiushi's deeds, he immediately said, it would be a pity to let such an old senior who is proficient in both Chinese and Western medicine stay at home idle. Don't worry, I'll go tell the hospital right away. About half a month later, Fu Nanjing accompanied the hospital leaders to the courtyard and personally invited Yang Qiushi to attend the consultation.
Yang Qiushi naturally agreed happily.
He had no wife or children in his life, and the medical skills he learned were all he owned. Now I am satisfied to be a doctor again so that I can still use my remaining energy in my later years. Therefore, like Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang, Yang Qiushi now leaves early and returns late to go to the hospital for consultation. After all, I haven't touched a scalpel in 10 years, and I am getting older, so I still practice traditional Chinese medicine inherited from my family. As soon as the three of them entered the door, they saw bright cherries on the plate in the main room. Rong Zhenbang couldn't help but smile at the red cherries and said, look, I said Huanhuan must have already bought them. If you don't believe me, you insist on buying some on the way. Shen Wanxue gave him a white look and said, if you buy more, eat more. Lao Yang is a doctor. Lao Yang, tell Lao Rong that if there are many children in the family, eating more fruits can supplement vitamins. Fortunately, you are a university professor and you don't even understand this. Rong Zhenbang was not annoyed when his wife said something to him. He smiled fondly and said, Okay, I don't understand. I'll learn from you next time, okay? Xia Huanhuan came over to greet them. Dad, Mom, Master, you wash your hands and eat the cherries first, and we'll cook later. The three of them agreed and went to wash their hands. Seeing that Li Zhan was not there, Shen Wanxue couldn't help but ask, why hasn't Li Zhan come back yet? Xia Huanhuan said. He said in the morning that he had a full class today and had field training in the afternoon. Maybe he was delayed. Shen Wanxue nodded and said with a smile, then let's leave some for him. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Mom, don't worry. I've already left it for him. We all ate these. In addition, I also put some in your room and the master's room. You can take it when you want to eat. Everyone sat together eating cherries and chatting. After eating the cherries, Xia Huanhuan, Lin Yuru, Shan Wanxue, and Shan Yan went to prepare dinner together. Xia Huanhuan took some more cherries and asked Xiaowen to come over and let him cook them. These were sent to Grandma Luo in the nursing home. Xiaowen agreed and took the family's bicycle to deliver them. The triplets insisted on following, but Xiaowen could only take one person with him on the bicycle. When things like this happen, it's always 3 days in a row. This time, it was Yan Yan's turn. Xiaoyao was so jealous that he followed the bicycle all the way out of the alley, then came back with a sigh. Seeing them like this, Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but laugh. What's so good about riding on this bicycle? The legs have to be lifted up to prevent them from getting caught in the rear wheel. More importantly, they are easy to fall. The joy of children is so simple and enviable. Everyone comes back after dinner. After they had finished eating, Xia Huanhuan secretly put the portion left for him into the space. When he came back, he took it out from the space, and it was still steaming. Why is it so late today? Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but ask. Li Zhan washed his hands and sat down, took a big white steamed bun and started eating. He smiled and said, I wasted some time going to the mountains for cross-country training. Xia Huanhuan nodded and told Li Zhan that he was going to Guang City again in the next 2 days. Li Zhan is used to it. Anyway, his wife's space is too convenient, and she is still there at this moment. The person next to you may be thousands of miles away in the next second. Li Zhan smiled and said, well, just don't work too hard. By the way, in the next 2 months, my training tasks at school and in the army may be heavier. Sometimes I may not be able to come back at night. You see, if it's late, you don't have to wait for me to come back. After hearing this, Xia Huanhuan felt a chill in her heart and asked, is there any secret mission coming next? Is it dangerous? The specific mission content cannot be disclosed. Li Zhan just shook his head and said with a smile, it's confidential, but it's nothing dangerous. Don't worry. Xia Huanhuan still looked at him worriedly. When was Li Zhan's confidential mission not dangerous? You didn't lie to me? Xia Huanhuan asked with a frown. Li Zhan smiled and said, why did I lie to you? Don't worry, if there is any danger, I will definitely tell you. Xia Huanhuan also knew that he couldn't reveal more, so she could only trust him and nodded. In the next few days, Li Zhan went out early and came back late. It was okay when he went out in the morning, and Xia Huanhuan could still let him ride his bicycle. He went to school by himself and basically came back alone in the afternoon. However, this man obviously trained more intensely during the day and was still energetic at night. After 2 days, Xia Huanhuan took advantage of this. After resting, she went to Guangshi through the space. As usual, she sent Chinese medicine to Aunt Li. As expected, Manager Li only had 2 or 3 conservative styles, and Xia Huanhuan fell in love with a floral skirt with a small round neck and plaid skirts, and only took about 10 pieces each. After leaving Manager Li, Xia Huanhuan went to the newly emerging self-employed wholesale market in Guangzhou to take a look. In just 6 months, the self-employed wholesale market in Guangzhou has become more than 3 times more lively than before. Looking at the dazzling array of goods displayed by the wholesale vendors, Guangzhou in this era is really open-minded. It was much better than other places in the country. Xia Huanhuan went straight to the clothing wholesale stall. There were indeed many more styles with ruffled necklines and ruffled skirts than elsewhere. Designs, V-neck red slim-fitting skirts, more neutral shirts, skirts, etc. were all copied from popular clothes in Hong Kong and Taiwan. In this era, there was no copyright awareness at all. There is no idea of piracy. Guangzhou is close to Hong Kong, so it is a first-come, first-served advantage. It is natural for light industries such as clothing to develop rapidly. Xia Huanhuan visited almost all the stalls. When I found a style I was interested in, I asked about the price and shopped around, and finally decided on the stall I wanted to buy from. The owner of this stall was named Jean, and everyone who came to pick up the goods called him Lao Jean. He looked like he was in his 30s. Is not tall, but he is very active in business. The reason why Xia Huanhuan chose him is not that his prices are the lowest, but that he has the most styles and has many high-quality goods that are not available at other stalls. Wide-leg jeans. In the 1980s, wide-leg bell-bottoms became popular across the country. It can be said that it was the first fashion craze after the opening up of the mainland. Now, not many people are optimistic about this kind of wide-leg trousers. Looking at the entire market, only Lao Jin has it. However, most people put it down after just one look. Lao Jin also highly recommends this style, but the summer here in Guangzhou is hot. These wide-leg long jeans look good, but they're still a bit too hot to wear and are not suitable for summer wear. The price of this piece of clothing is not low, and the buyer is not stupid. He will not wait for autumn until autumn. If you want to sell it, your funds will be. It's better to get a few more summer clothes that can be sold immediately. The style is good, but the timing is not right. It seems that the 100 items he got through his connections can only be kept to himself for the time being, and he can only sell them after the summer. Xia Huanhuan fell in love with these pants at first sight. It is hot in Beijing in summer, but the temperature difference between day and night is huge, so these kind of flared pants with large swings are also popular. It's just that the price of the goods was too expensive, and she was a little bit dissatisfied with it. The purchase price for one piece is 15. More expensive than a winter cotton coat. She took it back and resold it at a higher price. Even if she only added 1 yuan, it would cost 16 pieces. It was a bit too expensive to spend more than half a month's salary on a pair of summer pants. The jeans Xia Huanhuan sold for the first time were priced at roughly 10 yuan. This design is beautiful, and it's only 12 or 13 yuan a piece, so it will definitely be sold out. But in that case, she would be losing money and making a profit. Xia Huanhuan first decided on other styles of clothes to get: 50 pieces of dresses, 50 pieces of skirts, 50 pieces each of round neck and V-neck tops, and 30 pieces of shirts, all in different colors and styles. A few pieces come together. The purchase price of dresses is 5 yuan a piece, skirts are 3 yuan, various tops are also 3 yuan, and shirts are 4 yuan a piece. Summer clothes are thinner, so they are not expensive. When Lao Jin saw that he was a big customer, he became excited and took out his bell-bottom pants. "Comrade, look at these pants. They are a very fashionable and popular style abroad. How about a pair of 15? Xia Huanhuan took it and looked at it. The quality and workmanship are indeed first class. But she still returned it to him first and said calmly, "The style is pretty, but it's too expensive. 15 apiece is enough to buy 3 dresses." Lao Jin also knew that it was expensive, otherwise no one would care about it. "If you can get more, we can discuss the price." Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "If I want to get 20 pieces, how much price can you give me?" Lao Jin's eyes lit up a little confused. He looked at Xia Huanhuan suspiciously. "The in front of me is not very old, but she is quite beautiful, the kind that makes people unable to take their eyes away once they see her." Because of this, he was convinced that this was a stranger. It must be his first time to come to the wholesale market here, otherwise he will never forget it. She has already taken more than 800 pieces of goods. Can she still ask for 20 more bell-bottom pants? That adds up to thousands of dollars. However, the goods worth about 800 yuan just now have already been paid, so they won't owe him 200 or 300 yuan now, right? Lao Jin pondered for a moment and said, "If you can take 20 pieces, I'll give you a discount of 2 yuan per piece. How about 13 yuan per piece?" Although his profit is a little less, with the extra money he can get more other styles that are easy to sell from the factory. After 2 or 3 months of turnover in the summer, the profit will be made up. It's better than holding the goods in hand for a few months. Not to mention that it takes up space. If the market changes later, and the price of other people's goods of the same style drops, he will lose money. Xia Huanhuan heard it, shook her head, and said, "It's still too expensive. How about I take 50 pieces, and you give me 10 yuan? Lao Jin's eyes widened, and he confirmed with some stammering, 50 pieces? Are you sure you want that much?" Xia Huanhuan is not afraid of holding goods. With such a capital of several thousand, she is not afraid of not being able to turn it over. She nodded and smiled. "Do I look like I'm kidding?" Lao Jin thought for a moment and said, 10 yuan won't do, at least 12. His purchase price was 9 yuan, and this style would be sold well in the fall. Now he sells it at 10 yuan and makes 1 yuan per piece, which is a bit too little. Although most of his other styles make a few cents per piece, mainly because of volume. But this pair of bell-bottom pants has the highest purchase price, the most money invested, and the biggest risk. Human nature makes it so that after taking such a big risk, he ends up making the same amount of money as other low-risk styles, and psychologically feels that he has lost money. Xia Huanhuan still shook her head and said, 12 is still too expensive, and it's not easy for me to sell it. How about this? 11 yuan per piece. If it works, I'll take 50 pieces, if not, forget it. Making 2 yuan per piece, the profit of 50 pieces is 100 yuan. Although Lao Jin felt that he made little money, it was still very attractive to mobilize 5 or 600 yuan of funds at once. After thinking for a while, Lao Jin nodded and said with a smile, Okay. You bought so many goods from me today, 11 yuan is 11 yuan, let's keep it steady, and there is a long way to go. Comrade, may I ask your last name? Are you also in the clothing business? Come to me to buy goods in the future, and I will definitely give you the lowest price. The payment for 50 pairs of bell-bottom pants is 550 yuan, plus the ones just now. The total is 820 yuan. Xia Huanhuan also took another 100 small silk scarves, 50 cents each, a total of 50 yuan. This is 1,420 yuan in revenue. More than his sales in 3 days. Of course, he has to seize such a customer. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, My last name is Xia. Yes, my family is also in the clothing business. As long as you give me the lowest price, I will definitely come often in the future. Xia Huanhuan found a tricycle driver and asked him to transport all the clothes to the yard rented in Guangshi. When there was no one, he took them back into the space. After getting the summer clothes, she found a public phone and called Chen Rongxing. Chen Rongxing also left a number from Guangzhou. This was mainly because it was difficult for ordinary people from the mainland to call Hong Kong, so he first called the office in Guangzhou, and then the office relayed the information to Hong Kong. After hanging up the phone, Chen Rongxing called back directly not long after. This time Chen Rongxing was not in Guangzhou, so Xia Huanhuan told Chen Rongxing what she wanted on the phone. Chen Rongxing was doing foreign trade business. As a Hong Kong businessman, it was much more convenient for him to travel between Hong Kong and Guangzhou than for ordinary people from Hong Kong to go back to the mainland to apply for a return permit. However, it was a bit extravagant for him to come here specially just to listen to what she wanted. The last time Chen Rongxing and Xia Huanhuan did an electrical appliance transaction, not only did he settle the bill on the spot in US dollars, but he also gave him a commission of nearly 10%, although he finally returned the bulk of it and only received 10 US dollars. Such generosity, not to mention that none of the state-owned department stores in mainland China he had contacted were so straightforward. Even the partners in Hong Kong were few and far between. Everyone was wary of signing contracts with each other, and they paid for the goods after receiving them. Sometimes it was common for the payment to be delayed for half a year or a year. Doing business with Xia Huanhuan, even if it was just a verbal promise, but a promise was worth 1,000 gold, it was a cash flow transaction, and the money and goods were paid. How could he not treat such a customer attentively? Therefore, this time, no matter what Xia Huanhuan wanted and how many pieces she wanted, Chen Rongxing agreed, without saying a word. Miss Xia, I will contact the source of goods first, and it will be ready in about a week. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, That's fine. I will come to receive the goods in a week, and we will still settle in US dollars. Last time, when selling pearls, he received 1,800 US dollars from Smith and spent 510 US dollars on buying home appliances with Chen Rongxing. Xia Huanhuan still had 1,290 US dollars in her space, which was more than enough to pay for the transaction. However, she also needed to get some more foreign currency. Xia Huanhuan found Smith's business card and saw the address and phone number on it. Smith should be a permanent resident in Gang City. However, she also left the phone number of the temporary office in Guang City. Because she didn't have a landline and didn't often visit her residence in Guang City, she didn't leave Smith contact information at the time. Now more than half a year has passed, and it's time to call to express her condolences. After calling, she just left a message and asked the office to convey it to Smith, telling him that she would be back in Guang City in about a week, and if there was a chance, they could contact each other then. After hanging up the phone, Xia Huanhuan didn't stay in Guang City any longer and returned through the space. First, she deliberately found someone to pull a cart to transport all the summer clothes she brought back to the clothing store, and then she and Qi Ningyu hung up all the styles on hangers and displayed them in the store. The window originally displayed spring knitted sweaters and wool skirts, so Xia Huanhuan also changed directly into 3 sets of summer clothes. One set was the store's main white shirt with bell-bottom pants, one set was a slim-fitting dress, and the other set was a round-neck cotton shirt with a skirt. Unfortunately, there were no plastic models, so the clothes could only be matched in sets and hung high in the window. Otherwise, the effect of wearing them would be more impactful. Xia Huanhuan planned to wait a week to go to Guangzhou City to see if there were such full-body plastic models. Then she would bring back a few and put them in the window. As usual, there were discounts on summer clothes. However, this time, the bell-bottom pants were not discounted. The purchase price was 11 yuan, and they were sold at 15 yuan. If they were discounted by 20%, the profit would only be 1 yuan, which was not as good as other cheaper clothes. It would not be suitable. Other dresses, skirts, tops, etc. were all participating. If you buy 2 or more, you can get a 20% discount. The 100 small silk scarves were used as gifts. If you buy 3, you can get an extra one. The purchase price of a dress is 5 yuan, and the selling price is 10 yuan. The skirt and the top can be matched. They are all purchased at 3 yuan each and sold at 6 yuan, or 12 yuan for a set. The purchase price of a shirt is 4 yuan, and the selling price is 8 yuan. After sorting out the goods, Xia Huanhuan handed the store over to Qi Ningyu. Qi Ningyu has been trained in the past few months and has become more skilled in receiving customers. If he encounters a customer who wants to bargain, he can smile and politely refuse. From the opening of the store in early February to now in May, the profit of the clothing store has reached 500 to 600 yuan per month. However, the summer clothing is a little busier than the winter and spring. Xia Huanhuan is also considering whether to find someone to help look after the store. Otherwise, it would be very hard for Qi Ningyu alone. The clothing store is doing its job step by step, and Qin Shi is also doing a good job in the snack bar in the county. Now, the main business of the store has gradually developed into 2 parts. One part is for customers who are in a hurry, mainly selling big steamed buns, white flour steamed buns, grain steamed buns, and various pickles pickled by Master Lu. The other part is for customers who are not in a hurry, fresh meat dumplings, scallion oil noodles, plain noodles, braised beef, braised mutton, mutton soup, and so on. Master Lu has good skills and fair prices. Manager Qin Shi is also a waiter and has a good attitude, so he has surpassed the state-owned restaurant next door. Now, the state-owned restaurant is even more deserted, while customers here are endless, which makes the waiters of the state-owned restaurant almost angry. Xia Huanhuan still comes here regularly to supply fresh meat, vegetables, rice, and noodles to the small shop and Li Jie's snack bar. Li Jie's business is also good. Generally, he sells steamed buns, pancakes, fried dough sticks, and millet porridge in the morning, and sells mutton soup, boiled mutton, and dumplings at noon and in the afternoon. After school, Yingying and Huanhuan brought Dongbao and another younger brother to the store to help wipe the table and wash the dishes. They're also very diligent. The profit for the day is also more than 10 yuan, which is equivalent to 1/3 of Chioha's monthly salary last week. Zhou Chioha works at the department store, so she certainly can't take care of the store. She just accompanies Li Jie in the evening to make dough, stuffing for buns and dumplings, steam buns, make dumplings, and other tasks. But Li Jie is the one who works the hardest. Zhou Chioha wants to quit her job at the department store and come to her own store so that Li Jie can relax a little. Li Jie still disagrees. It's so hard to get a stable job. I'll work hard for a while and then see how things go in 2 years.
There are more and more small vendors now.
Our store is booming now, but it doesn't mean it will be booming in the future. In 2 years, if the business is still good, you can quit your job again. After hearing this, Zhou Chioha had to temporarily give up the idea of resigning. Another reason why she couldn't make up her mind to quit was because of the housing issue. However, she was gradually transferred from a rural household registration to a formal salesperson, and her household registration was also changed to a commercial grain household registration. The cumulative years of service after becoming a formal worker were actually only about 1 or 2 years. If she had to wait for a house, she would probably have to wait for 3 to 5 years. But even if she had to wait for 3 to 5 years, the old houses in the county town were sold privately, but there was no way to buy and sell the staff buildings in the new urban area, so she could only wait for the company to distribute houses. If she resigned, she would completely become a self-employed person, and there would be no hope for a house. Although she moved to the city, she didn't even have a house in the city. She had been renting a house all the time, and she didn't feel a sense of belonging. When Xia Huanhuan came over, Zhou Qiuhe also told Xia Huanhuan about her concerns. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "In fact, you don't have to worry too much about the house. Maybe in a few years, you don't have to wait for the company to distribute houses. There may be houses for sale, and there is no restriction on the identity of the buyer. As long as you have money, you can buy it." Zhou Qiuhe and Li Jie looked at each other. Both of them were a little unconvinced. "Huanhuan, you studied at Beijing University, you know a lot what you said. Is it really possible?" Xia Huanhuan nodded affirmatively and said, "It's possible. The kind of house that can be bought with money is called commercial housing. The idea of building commercial housing was proposed last year. Apart from other things, Guangzhou City is already discussing cooperation with enterprises in Hong Kong City. If the cooperation is successful, the enterprises in Hong Kong City will invest in building houses and then sell them to citizens. The first commercial housing community in the country was built in Donghu District, Guangshi. In 1979, the Hong Kong businessmen negotiated with the community, and the construction started in December and was completed by the end of 1982. This community is about 60,000 square meters, 20,000 square meters of which are used as resettlement housing, and the remaining 40,000 square meters are sold by Guangshi and Hong Kong businessmen, with a price of 800 yuan per square meter. In addition to Guangshi, commercial housing began to appear in Shanghai in 1979. The commercial housing community in Beijing was built later in 1986. The booming real estate industry in the next 40 years started in these 2 years. However, Xia Huanhuan did not intend to reveal too much to Li Jie and Zhou Qiuhe. After all, Guangshi and Shanghai were pioneers, and it would take several years for the fire to spread to the small county of Mo County. It might be better to wait for the distribution of houses than to wait for yourself to spend money to buy a house. Moreover, the price of commercial housing can be said to be sky-high for ordinary workers. It is not really that easy to afford hundreds or thousands of dollars. Xia Huanhuan still said, "However, I think this is the general trend. Now self-employed people may be despised and feel embarrassed by everyone, but this situation will definitely change in the future. I support your resignation, sister-in-law. However, as my third brother said, we can wait for a year or 2. After listening to Xia Huanhuan's words, Zhou Qiuhe nodded solemnly and said, "Huanhuan, when you say that, I have a bottom line in my heart. I will work for another 2 years and see. If there is no news about the distribution of the house, I will resign and open a store with Li Jie." A week passed quickly. Xia Huanhuan went to Guangshi again and met Chen Rongxing. This time, she asked for 5 refrigerators and 10 single-drum washing machines, as well as watches, wallets, belts, tape recorders, and singers' tapes, posters, and other things that young people like. The refrigerator was still 600 yuan, and the single drum was 100 yuan, which was 2,200 yuan in total. The other watches, tape recorders, etc., together cost about 1,000 yuan, which was 3,300 yuan in total. At a conversion rate of 10 to 1, it was $330. Xia Huanhuan gave 350 yuan directly, but Chen Rongxing still returned the 20 yuan. The price he gave Xia Huanhuan actually included his own remuneration, so he didn't ask for commission. The main reason was that he thought Xia Huanhuan was capable and wanted to cooperate for a long time. Seeing that he refused twice, Xia Huanhuan knew what he meant, so she didn't give in and took back the $20. After the business was settled, Xia Huanhuan called the Guangshi office, left by Smith again. Unexpectedly, this time it was Smith who answered the phone in person. Miss Xia, you finally contacted me. I've been waiting so hard, Smith said anxiously on the phone. Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing and replied in a foreign language. Don't be so ambiguous. I'm married and have a husband. Smith was stunned and surprised. You remarried? You look like you're in your early 20s?
How could that be?
Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing and said, You can't ask a lady's age casually. But let's not talk about that. Why are you in Guangzhou? Smith said, I was afraid of missing you again, so I came a few days in advance. I've been waiting for several days. Miss, oh no. What's your husband's last name? What should I call you? Xia Huanhuan said, We don't have the habit of changing our surnames to the same as our husbands after marriage, so you can continue to call me Miss Xia. Smith said, Okay then. Miss Xia, can we meet? The pearls last time were very popular with our company's customers, and we want to purchase an additional batch of pearls. Xia Huanhuan looked at the time and said, Okay. Then let's meet in the tea house? The two soon met in the tea house. Smith only wanted big pearls this time, and the price was the same as last time, 80 yuan per pearl, and a total of 300 pearls, which was 24,000 yuan, and it was converted into US dollars at an exchange rate of 1 to 8, which was exactly 3,000 US dollars. Smith came directly with cash, and Xia Huanhuan was not vague, and handed over the prepared box containing 300 pearls. The quality is still first class. After Smith inspected the goods, he couldn't help asking, Miss Xia, where are these pearls of yours cultivated? Such good quality, without any flaws. We have conducted on-site investigations and purchases in major pearl-producing areas around the world, but none of them can match your pearls, Miss Xia. How did you cultivate them? Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Mr. Smith, this is our business secret and cannot be disclosed casually. Smith sighed sadly and said, Well, okay. However, Miss Xia, could you please leave a phone number or address so that next time if we need to buy pearls, I can contact you directly? This is a difficult problem. Although Xia Huanhuan came to Guangshi frequently through the space, she actually just rented a house in Guangshi. Even if she left her address, there was no way to contact her in time. Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but miss the convenience of having a mobile phone. However, even pagers are not popular yet. As for the prototype of the mobile phone, the Big Brother, it will take more than 10 years for it to become popular. It's still too early. After thinking about it, Xia Huanhuan said, My time in Guangshi is irregular and I don't have a fixed phone number, so leaving an address is not very meaningful. Let's do this. I will call your office every time I come to Guangshi, and we can contact each other if you need anything. After hearing this, Smith had no better solution for the time being, so he had to agree. After saying goodbye to Smith, Xia Huanhuan returned to Beijing again. She handed the goods she got from Chen Rongxing directly to Dahe, asking Dahe to help sell them. Dahe had already sold the second-hand electrical appliances that he took out from the space last time, and he had earned a total of 500 or 600. Dahe sent the money to the courtyard, and Qinyu happened to come to find Xia Huanhuan, so they met. Dahe felt his eyes brighten, and his eyes were glued to Qinyu. Qinyu also noticed Dahe's eyes, and his face became a little embarrassed. He deliberately didn't look at him and said to Xia Huanhuan, Sister Huanhuan, my dad asked me to tell you that if you are free these 2 days, come to my house. I have something very important to tell you. After saying that, without staying for long, he rode his bike to the clothing store to work. Dahe's eyes were still following the other person's bike until the bike turned a corner and disappeared from the alley. Then he reluctantly withdrew his gaze. Xia Huanhuan naturally saw his look and looked at him with a smile. Dahe noticed Xia Huanhuan looking at him and couldn't help touching his nose, chuckling twice, and asked, Sister Wanner, what's the name of that girl just now? Is she married? Xia Huanhuan pursed her lips and smiled, and said, Why? Do you like her? Dahe chuckled and said, Just asking. She's pretty. Xia Huanhuan said, Her name is Qinyu. She's not married. But I can't say for sure whether she has a partner, and I haven't asked. Dahe got a little anxious when he heard it and said, Sister Wanner, can you help me find out? Xia Huanhuan had a good impression of Dahe, otherwise she would not have trusted him so much. She would give Dahe electrical appliances worth hundreds of dollars and let him sell them. However, Dahe's family situation was not particularly good after all. Not to mention his elder brother and sister, he also had 3 younger brothers and sisters. Who knows what would happen in the future, so he still needed his help. Compared with Dahe, the Chi family's ancestors had opened a restaurant. Even though the industry was converted to the state after the public-private partnership, the family still had a small courtyard house and a small storefront that was sold to Xia Huanhuan before. The Chi family's son died again, leaving only Qi Ningyu as the daughter. I'm afraid that old man Qi would not just find someone to marry his daughter. However, she was thinking too far ahead. Even if Dahe was interested in someone, Qi Ningyu might not like Dahe. This fate has not been decided yet. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Okay, I'll ask you later." Dahe was so happy that he scratched his head and cheeks and couldn't help asking Sister Wana, "Let me ask another question. Where does she work?" Xia Huanhuan looked at him and smiled. "She works in my clothing store. However, I have to remind you that you are used to hanging out in the alleys, and your words and actions may be a bit too casual. Don't go to the store all of a sudden. If you scare people away, don't blame me for not reminding you." Dahe's face rarely turned red, and he said, "Sister Wanner, I know. I just asked first, and I dare not do anything rash. It's okay, I'll leave first. I'll come again in a few days, Sister Wanner. Don't forget to ask for me." Dahe instructed again and then left. Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but smile and went back to the house. Yan Haotian had been recuperating for more than a month and had almost recovered. He applied to return to the team and would return to Guangzhou in the next few days. Chunlu was worried and wanted to accompany him back so that he could take care of him on the way. However, Yan Haotian did not agree. "The semester is not over yet. It will take you at least 3 days to take the train back and forth, which will delay your studies. If your family knew about this, wouldn't they be even more dissatisfied with me as their future son-in-law?" Chunlu's face turned red.
What?
"What future son-in-law? Aren't you ashamed?" Yan Haotian saw her shy look and couldn't help teasing her. "Why should I be shy? I don't know who it was who cried red eyes more than a month ago and insisted on marrying me." Chunlu stamped her feet in shame and came up to cover his mouth, saying, "You still say?" Yan Haotian took the opportunity to grab her hand and said solemnly, "Don't worry. There are other comrades going back together. When we arrive at the station, the troops will come to pick us up. It's okay. When you go back to Guangzhou during the summer vacation, we'll talk about other things." Chunlu nodded. She and Yan Haotian had already discussed that they wanted to get engaged during the summer vacation. Of course, Yan Haotian insisted on waiting until her parents accepted him. However, she would never back down this time. Even if her parents disagreed, she did not intend to back down. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru went to the train station to see Yan Haotian off. Lin Yuru cried again. Xia Huanhuan persuaded her for a while before she stopped. Lin Yuru steamed some meat buns, which were still hot, and also had homemade braised pig's trotters, pig intestines, chicken feet, chicken wings, and the like. She insisted that Yan Haotian take them to eat on the way. In addition to buns, there were also cherries, tomatoes, cucumbers, and the like grown in the backyard. Yan Haotian didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still took them all. After seeing Yan Haotian off, Xia Huanhuan remembered what Qi Ningyu said yesterday, so she went to the Qi family. Qi Jian saw her coming and said with a smile, "I said that if you don't come again, I will have to let Ningyu go to find you again." Xia Huanhuan asked with a smile, "Uncle Qi, what's the matter?" Qi Jian said excitedly, "The rental of the restaurant building has been approved by the street and the district. If you haven't changed your mind, we can meet with the district leader in charge of this in the next 2 days to discuss the details." Xia Huanhuan couldn't help but be overjoyed when she heard it. Whether it's a braised food shop or a small shop at the county train station, they are all small businesses, and she has always wanted to run a big restaurant. Now, there is finally progress in the rental of the building here, so she is naturally happy. "Uncle Qi, are you serious? Then, do you say when we can meet to talk at the earliest?" Qi Jian said, "Of course it's true. Otherwise I wouldn't be so anxious to find you. I'll go to the street to ask tomorrow, and it will probably be the day after tomorrow." Xia Huanhuan listened and nodded happily. Okay, then I'll wait for your good news, Uncle Chi. The next day, Chi Jian sent a message saying that they would be able to meet the next day. Xia Huanhuan went to Chi's house early in the morning and went to the street with Chi Jian and then went to the office of the district leader with Aunt Lu from the street. The district chief was named Wang, wearing a Zhongshan suit and received them with a smile on his face. You are Xia Huanhuan, Comrade Xia, mentioned by Mr. Chi and the street office, right? A top student from Peking University? District Chief Wang said, extending his hand to her. Xia Huanhuan did not hesitate at all and shook hands with him generously, saying, District Chief Wang, I didn't expect you to know me. I am really flattered. District Chief Wang smiled and said, I not only know you, but also your husband, your father and grandfather. Li Zhan is my old comrade in arms, and Mr. Fu is my old leader. However, I have to say it in advance, the rental of this restaurant will not be biased towards you just because of your family background. Xia Huanhuan felt even more embarrassed after hearing this, and said seriously, District Chief Wang, don't worry about this. They are them, and I am me. I believe there are many other competitors for leasing the restaurant building this time, so you can just treat me as an ordinary competitor. District Chief Wang nodded and said with a smile, Let's do it this way, and we'll talk about the specific details. After talking, it was found that the district's goal was to recreate the grand occasion of the old restaurant when the Chi family was in charge and to revitalize the business in this area. It was for this reason that the street would give priority to Chi Jian. If Chi Jian gives up the lease, they will consider other people. When the Chi family was in charge, the restaurant was called Yuanxiangju. The district means that when the restaurant reopens, the name will still be Yuanxiangju. I don't know if you agree with this. Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment. It is normal for old restaurants to retain the original signboard and store name to attract customers. However, she did not really want to continue the name of someone else's restaurant. What she wanted to build was her own restaurant. However, the location and scale of this restaurant were the most suitable ones for her at the moment. Xia Huanhuan pondered for a moment and said, District Chief Wang, I have no problem with the restaurant still being called Yuanxiangju. After all, it's the first restaurant, and it's a good thing to have a time-honored brand name, so Xia Huanhuan agreed. Then the rent and lease period were discussed. Xia Huanhuan proposed a monthly rent of 2,000 yuan for a period of 10 years, and the rent could be adjusted every 3 years. However, she also proposed an additional condition, that is, if the building is sold in the future, she will have the priority right to purchase it. After the discussion, District Chief Wang asked Xia Huanhuan and Chi Jian to come back and wait for news. About a week later, the district sent a notice that Xia Huanhuan was selected to rent the restaurant, and the rent was based on her offer, so she was asked to go to the district as soon as possible to negotiate the agreement. Xia Huanhuan was overjoyed and immediately went with Chi Jian to sign the agreement, received the keys, and then couldn't wait to go with Chi Jian to inspect the restaurant. This restaurant, the upper and lower floors, covering an area of 300 square meters, are all made of wood. Entering is a bright hall with 5 or 6 large wooden pillars supporting the roof. On one side of the door is the counter where the shopkeeper used to stay. The stairs leading to the second floor are a little further inside. The second floor is surrounded by railings and has windows facing the street. If you put tables and chairs, you can eat and drink by the railings. However, this place has been used as a warehouse for storing sundries for nearly 10 years, and it is dirty. The original tables and chairs in the building are long gone, and it is empty. The paint on the wooden railings and beams is also mottled and cracked. Fortunately, the overall structure is still solid, and there is no need to worry about the risk of collapse. However, in order to open the business, it needs to be thoroughly renovated from the inside out. Xia Huanhuan looked at the overall situation and calculated in her mind that the renovation would probably cost tens of thousands of dollars just to start. The rotten wood needs to be replaced with new ones, and the whole thing needs to be repainted. In addition, there are several broken glass windows that need to be repaired. There are also tables and chairs and various tools in the kitchen which need to be repurchased. To repair wooden structures, it is natural to find construction masters in this field and carpenters with better skills. Fortunately, she has endless wood in her space, so she can save money on this part. In short, it is unlikely to open without several months of cleaning and renovation. The district has taken this situation into consideration and agreed that Xia Huanhuan will start paying rent from the official opening. However, in return, the cost of repairing the restaurant will need to be paid by Xia Huanhuan herself. Xia Huanhuan estimated the construction period and planned to wait until October to officially open the restaurant. 5 months were left for renovation and recruiting chefs and waiters. To support a 2-story old restaurant, it is not like a snack bar, where you just need to find a chef and a person in charge, or simply have your own family to look after the store like a braised food store. This restaurant has 2 floors and can accommodate about 30 tables. Not to mention full seats. Even if the occupancy rate is 50%, there are 15 tables of guests waiting for food at the same time. If you only find a chef, I am afraid he will be exhausted and can't catch up. Moreover, the guests are different, and the types of dishes they order are definitely different. No matter how powerful the chef is, it is impossible to be proficient in all dishes. After sorting out the timeline of what to do next, Xia Huanhuan began to arrange the renovation. Regarding finding a wooden structure construction master and carpenter, Xia Huanhuan directly found a professor of relevant majors through the Department of Architecture of Tsinghua University next door. Of course, it was not to let the professor do the renovation, but through the professor, she got to know many folk professional craftsmen in this field. There was also someone who was introduced by Qi Jian. He was the young master of Yuanxiangju. He was not yet born when the building was built, but he still remembered a few of the craftsmen who built the building. Even if the elders are gone, the younger generations behind may have inherited the mantle. Xia Huanhuan personally visited and invited. Yuanxiangju was quite famous back then. So many old craftsmen agreed readily when they heard that they were going to repair the building. Many even said generously that they would not ask for wages. However, Xia Huanhuan still paid everyone. After the professional craftsmen were found, Xia Huanhuan took out all the necessary wood from the space according to their requirements and left the rest to them. The most important chef, Qi Jian, needed to step in. The most important thing in a restaurant is the chef. If the dishes are not delicious, then no matter how good the location is or how luxurious the decoration is, it will not be able to retain customers in the end. After all, Qi Jian was the young master of Yuanxiangju in the past, and he would be familiar with the older generation of chefs. The chefs would also give him face. Some of those chefs are now working as chefs in state-owned restaurants, while others are unemployed at home. If Xia Huanhuan, a young woman, were to hire them, even if she was paid, those skilled chefs would probably not buy in. Of course, Xia Huanhuan did not intend to let Qi Jian help for nothing. She was thinking that when the restaurant opened, it would be made into a joint stock company, and some shares would be allocated to the Qi family. After all, Yuanxiangju was originally the signature of the Qi family restaurant, and it was also a time-honored brand. This is similar to borrowing someone else's famous trademark brand, and you also have to pay a brand usage fee. Long before the renovation began, Xia Huanhuan had already solemnly talked to Qi Jian about the shares. Uncle Qi, 90% of the district's agreement to rent the restaurant to me this time is due to you, Uncle Qi. Now, the name of the restaurant will continue to be Yuanxiangju, the original name of the Qi family restaurant. Later, I also have a lot of things I need to ask Uncle Qi for advice. So, my idea for this restaurant is that Uncle Qi will own 10% of the shares, which is considered the signature of Yuanxiangju, and the remaining 90% is mine. I will pay for the renovation of the restaurant, the recruitment of employees, and the purchase of ingredients. What do you think, Uncle Qi? Qi Jian wanted to refuse at first, but Xia Huanhuan insisted, so Qi Jian agreed. He couldn't help but admire Xia Huanhuan. The Qi family didn't spend a penny, but they got 10% of the shares, so they can get dividends every year in the future. As the young master of a big restaurant in the past, he knew a thing or two about these business aspects. In this way, even if he was gone in the future, his daughter would not be afraid of having no livelihood unless the restaurant went bankrupt. He was so enthusiastic to help ask. In fact, it was also to thank Xia Huanhuan for helping him and his daughter in the past 2 years. On the other hand, the restaurant was no longer in his hands. if it could really be reopened, even if he was not named Qi. He felt a little relieved to see the name of Yuanxiangju established again. Unexpectedly, Xia Huanhuan would take the initiative to give him shares. Therefore, he naturally worked harder to visit the former master chefs and invite them to come back to Yuanxiangju. The former young master of the Qi family had a good reputation, and Xia Huanhuan offered a good salary. Not only did the master chefs who had retired and closed their doors to guests agree to come back, but even those who worked in state-owned restaurants could not help but feel a little shaken. However, after all, no one knew what would happen to private restaurants in the future. Therefore, in the end, only one of the master chefs at the state-owned restaurant agreed to resign and return to Yuanxiangju. In this way, a master chef who is good at making pasta, there is a master chef who specializes in Shandong cuisine, and another master chef who specializes in Hunan cuisine. They are considered to have gathered all the staff. As for the assistants and kitchen helpers, each of them can take care of two. Xia Huanhuan pays them high wages so people in the same industry can hire similar people after asking. In order to make it easier for the master chef to operate, Xia Huanhuan also doubled the size of the kitchen. In this way, there will be no conflict between the stoves and no smell. Xia Huanhuan plans to recruit waiters in the lobby herself. When the time comes, she will post a recruitment notice downstairs, and it should be easy to recruit them. However, there are still several months before Zhang leaves, so Xia Huanhuan is not in a hurry. On the other hand, Xia Huanhuan hired a young girl to work at the clothing store. She earns 20 yuan a month, not bad. But there is a commission, so I can get 30 or 40 yuan a month. In June, Xia Huanhuan took out the refrigerator from the space and gave one to her family and the Fu family. In addition, she kept one of the 5 refrigerators she took from Chen Rongxing the second time and gave it to Fu Nanjing's family. Yu Siju has been pregnant for almost 8 months and is about to give birth. It is naturally good to have a refrigerator at home. Fu Nanjing did not refuse, but he still gave them money, as usual. The kids at home were overjoyed. This refrigerator can be used to freeze popsicles. When summer comes, won't there be endless popsicles? In the following time, Xia Huanhuan focused more on studying. They haven't been to Guangshi and the county town much. Li Zhan is also busy with training. Sometimes he lives directly in school or the army. He also said that he might need to go on a mission in July and will not be at home for a month. Xia Huanhuan thought about it and realized that they haven't talked properly for a long time. However, Li Zhan is busy, and she is busy too. There is no way for the time being, so they can only wait until after August. The children at home are also about to take their final exams, and Xia Huanhuan is still busy tutoring them. However, when the triplets are doing their homework, they will see Chen Yan sitting neatly at the table, her eyes always carefully looking at the triplets' textbooks and homework books. Xia Huanhuan suddenly remembered the scene when she saw Chen Yan secretly copying the words on the washing machine. She has been busy so much that she forgot about it. When Chen Yan was not around, Xia Huanhuan secretly asked Bei Bei. After asking, she found out that Chen Yan had been secretly learning to read by herself for the past few months, and asked Bei Bei if she didn't understand. Bei Bei is in the 5th grade of elementary school now, and will be promoted to the 1st grade of junior high school in the fall. Therefore, Chen Yan can't understand the textbooks, so Bei Bei told Chen Yan that she can learn from the textbooks of the triplets. So, there was the scene that Xia Huanhuan saw. Sister Chen Yan studied very seriously. Now she can write her own name and recognize a lot of characters. It's just, Mom, Sister Chen Yan didn't let me tell you. You must not say it was me who said it. Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing and said, Don't let me tell you?
Why?
Am I a scourge? You dare not tell me? Bei Bei said, Anyway, don't tell Sister Chen Yan this. I promise, Sister Chen Yan. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, This is quite trustworthy. Okay, I won't say it was you who said it. A few days later, Xia Huanhuan found an opportunity and asked Chen Yan about this. Chen Yan saw that Xia Huanhuan knew about it, and her face immediately turned pale with fear. She pinched the corner of her clothes with both hands, lowered her head, looked up at Xia Huanhuan with guilt, and said with some stammering, Fourth aunt, I only watched it when I was free, and I didn't slack off from work.
You.
You must not send me home. Xia Huanhuan was helpless to see her so scared. She and Li Zhan should have gotten along well. However, thinking about it, she was not that old, and she came to the city under the pretext of helping with work. It was normal for her to be afraid. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. It's a good thing that you want to learn to read. Fourth aunt won't stop you from learning. But you're so old, you'll definitely feel embarrassed to go to elementary school with Yan Yan and the others. I checked, there's a night school near our courtyard. The students are all adults and there are 2 or 3 classes every night. If you want to learn, fourth aunt will sign you up and you can go in 2 days." Chuanyan's eyes lit up when she heard this. She asked in surprise, "Fourth aunt, is this true? You really won't stop me?" Xia Huanhuan smiled. "Of course it's true. You study hard, and if you really do well, fourth aunt will find you a better job in the future." Chunyan excitedly promised, "Fourth aunt, I will definitely study hard. But forget about a better job. I think working at home is the best job." Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing. "Silly girl. What kind of good job is it to cook and wash clothes for others all the time? Anyway, you should study first, and then you can talk about other things after you have learned well." 2 days later, Chunyan happily went to night school every night after cooking and eating. Time passed quickly, and it was the beginning of July in a blink of an eye. The tense final exam was finally over. Xia Huanhuan and Chen Lu came out of the examination room with ease. Chen Lu bought a train ticket for the night after the exam. It can be said that he was eager to go home and wanted to return to Guangzhou as soon as possible. Xia Huanhuan didn't delay her and said goodbye to her. Chen Lu went to the dormitory to pack her luggage, and she walked to the school gate. When she arrived at the gate, she saw Li Zhan standing next to the bicycle, waiting for her. Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment. Wasn't Li Zhan very busy in the past few months? Why did he suddenly come to pick her up in broad daylight? She ran 2 steps quickly and came to him. She couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Why are you here? You didn't even tell me in advance." Li Zhan looked at her and smiled. "Today is a half-day holiday. I have to report to the army early tomorrow morning. I may not even contact you for more than a month." Xia Huanhuan couldn't help feeling a little disappointed after hearing this, but she also knew that this was determined by the nature of Li Zhan's work, so she didn't ask anything and said, "Yeah. Anyway, you should be careful." Li Zhan smiled, raised his hand to rub her hair, and said, "I know. Let's go home." Xia Huanhuan listened and also sorted out her mood and smiled. "Let's go." Li Zhan rode on the bicycle. Xia Huanhuan sat on the back seat and left Beijing University and rode towards home. Li Zixin saw Xia Huanhuan at the school gate and couldn't help but sneered twice. "Didn't you find a jeep to pick you up last time, and it was so glorious, and now you are riding a bicycle? What's wrong with being a deputy division commander?" Her husband was originally in the army, but he retired after the new year and went to work in a local department, in charge of the economy. Li Zixin's family opened a restaurant near the water tower, and now she can earn 200 or 300 yuan a month, which is much higher than the more than 100 yuan a month allowance of the deputy division level. Therefore, the depression she was suppressed at the school gate a year ago has finally been released a little. It's a pity that she can't find a chance to show off in front of Xia Huanhuan and regain her face. However, there is no rush. After the family restaurant has been run for a while and makes 1,000 or 800 yuan, she will slap Xia Huanhuan in the face, which will make her feel more relieved. Xia Huanhuan didn't know what Li Zixin was thinking. She hugged Li Zhan's waist and chatted all the way. When she got home, she took out a few watermelons from the space, put them in the refrigerator, moved them a little, took them out and cut them, and everyone ate. Xiaowen, Xiaowu, Beibei, and the triplets have also finished their exams. The triplets opened the refrigerator door as soon as they came back.
"Mom,
"We've finished the exam. You promised us that we could eat popsicles." Xia Huanhuan came over helplessly and took out homemade popsicles from the freezer. There weren't many plastic products in this era, so there certainly weren't any homemade popsicle molds. However, this thing didn't require much technical skills, so Xia Huanhuan took out some wood and bamboo from the space and asked Li Zhan to dig out a few molds. As for making popsicles, that wasn't difficult either. In the space, add milk and various fresh fruits into small pieces, add sugar, stir evenly, pour into the mold, insert the wooden stick of the popsicle, and freeze it into shape. Also, boil mung bean soup, add sugar, pour it in, and you have mung bean popsicles. Xia Huanhuan gave the 6 of them and Chen Yan a milk ice cream each, and asked them to eat. Xia Shuangshan, Lin Yiru, Shen Wanxue, Rong Zhenbang, and Yang Qiushi were old, and eating popsicles would upset their stomachs, so in summer they would boil mung bean paste and red bean paste, put them in the refrigerator, and when it was too hot, take out a small bowl and drink it, which was also very refreshing. Xia Huanhuan gave herself and Li Zhan a popsicle each. They ate while watching the triplets playing with the wolf cubs in the yard, not caring about the heat. After eating the popsicles, Xiaowen, Xiaowu, and Beibei made an appointment with their classmates to go to the summer palace to play, and the triplets clamored to go with them. Xia Huanhuan asked Chen Yan to go with them to play together and take care of the little ones. In addition, there were wolf cubs following him, so Xia Huanhuan wasn't that worried. However, Chen Yan, Xiaowen, and Xiaowu were still told not to go boating or go to the waterside. She also gave each person 1 yuan in pocket money and gave Xiaowen 5 yuan in case there was any need to spend money. I put hats on the triplets and took out sunscreen from the space, of course. I got it from the empty box of the cream that was more common in this era and applied it on their arms, faces, and legs. And took some sugar, cakes, fruits, etc., and of course a kettle before letting them go. After the 7 people and 1 dog set off, Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yiru went back to their rooms to rest, while Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang went to prepare lessons, and Yang Qiushi went back to read medical books. Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan also entered the house. Xia Huanhuan got a lot of ice from the space and put it in the room. In this way, even without air conditioning, the room was cool enough. The 2 of them are busy these days and they fall asleep at night, and they haven't done that kind of thing for a while. At this moment, everyone is a little impatient. Several buttons on Xia Huanhuan's shirt were torn. Xia Huanhuan just wanted to open her mouth to complain, but her mouth was already blocked. Chen Yan, Xiaowen, and Xiaowu took the bus to the gate of the summer palace. Xiaowen, Xiaowu, and Beibei met their classmates, and everyone lined up to buy tickets. Tickets are still a dime for adults and half price for children. However, the others were all over 1 meter tall, so only the triplets had half-price tickets. A group of about 10 children entered the park in a mighty manner. I guess other parents have also warned me not to allow boating or playing in the water. The children found the shade of a big tree and sat down to eat the delicious food they had brought. The boys went to the canteen in the park together and bought Arctic ice cold soda and ice cream for everyone to eat. In addition, the boys played hoops, tree climbing, cockfighting, and glass, while the girls played rubber bands, flip ropes, and shuttlecocks. The triplets also had a great time playing in it. On the contrary, I forgot all about catching cicadas. As the elder sister, Beibei was more attentive. When she saw them sweating profusely while playing, she called them over and gave them the grape she brought in the lunchbox. After eating, the triplets were caught as strong men and went over to help hold up the rubber bands. When they were having fun, a female classmate of Beibei suddenly said secretly, "Beibei, look, there are 2 people over there. They seem to be looking towards us." After hearing this, Beibei, even though she is young, but she was still very vigilant, and she immediately looked over there pretending to be casual. Sure enough, I saw 2 people, a man and a woman, looking over here. Seeing Beibei looking over, the 2 of them immediately turned their heads and looked elsewhere. Beibei felt a little scared, so she went over and secretly told Xiaowen about it. "Brother, there are 2 people over there. They seem to have been looking at us since the beginning," Beibei said in a low voice. When Xiaowen heard this, he immediately became alert and immediately raised his head and looked in the direction Beibei said. However, there was no one there. "Where is it?" Beibei also looked back and said a little anxiously, "Huh? Why is there no one? He was here just now." After hearing this, Xiaowen lowered his voice and said, "Maybe I saw you paying attention. When they arrived, they left. I think it's getting late, so let's go back first." Beibei nodded in agreement after hearing this. When she was a child in Qingshui village, Beibei still remembered the triplets being taken away, so she couldn't let her brothers be taken away again. However, Xiao Wu was careless and didn't notice the two people just now. He said with a disappointed look on his face, "Oh, you have to go back so early? I haven't had enough fun yet." The triplets remembered at this moment there was no need to catch cicadas yet, so he shouted, "That's right. Brother, we haven't caught cicadas yet." Xiaowen looked at three identical little guys holding a net, raising his head and frowning seriously. He also didn't know whether to laugh or cry and said, "Brother will accompany you to the woods in the park near your home tomorrow to catch them. It's too late today. If you don't go back, Mom will scold you." Xiao Wu and the triplets also heard the last words. Frightened for a second, Mom became fierce, but it gave her a headache. Maybe starting from tomorrow, one popsicle every day will be gone. Xiao Wu and the triplets had no choice but to follow the big guy back with their heads down. Xiaowen and Beibei didn't dare to tell Xia Huanhuan about this. The main reason is that if Xia Huanhuan feels that it is dangerous after hearing this, they will not be allowed to go out to play alone in the future, which will cause trouble. Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan didn't get up until evening. Xia Huanhuan went straight into the space to take a bath and soak in the hot springs to guess. Li Zhan was miserable and didn't receive such good treatment, so he went to the bathroom and took a shower. However, Gu Zhanqiu, who had been saving up for several days, was released, and he was still quite refreshed. Early the next morning, at dawn, Li Zhan set off. Xia Huanhuan could only give him numerous warnings, telling him to pay attention to his safety. Li Zhan couldn't help but smile and said, "As I said, this mission is not that dangerous. Don't worry." After saying that, he couldn't help but pull the person and kissed him before leaving. After a few days, Xia Huanhuan took out the color TV and put it in the house. The Fu family's unit was also sent over. This time, the little kids who rushed out every day as soon as they lost their jobs seemed to be locked up at home, never wanting to go out again. However, Xia Huanhuan was also afraid that they would be addicted to TV and would not be able to extricate themselves, so he set a limit on how long they could watch TV every day. The adults in the family are also extremely rare. Xia Huanhuan didn't hide the fact about opening a clothing store from her family. Therefore, Xia Huanhuan bought the color TV with the profits from the clothing store and the braised meat shop. One day while having dinner, Yan Yan suddenly pointed at the TV and said excitedly, "Mom, look, my dad is on TV." Xia Huanhuan couldn't help laughing. "What are you thinking? How could your dad be possible?" Halfway through her words, she was also dumbfounded. Li Zhan was standing near the periphery of a very high-ranking person, and the camera only lasted 5 or 6 seconds. But it was indeed a fierce battle. Xia Huanhuan was dumbfounded. Was the mission he mentioned actually to protect such an important person? No wonder he said he wanted to keep it a secret. Xia Huanhuan breathed a sigh of relief. At least, although this job is confidential, the level of risk is indeed not that high. Yi turned around and said, "Mom, it's really my dad. I saw it too." Xia Huanhuan was also afraid that the children would be ignorant and talk nonsense when they went out, so he said, "If you eat your food, maybe you'll grow up." "It looks like it. Your dad is in the Northeast." The triplets couldn't help feeling a little frustrated after hearing this. Why did my dad go to the Northeast? Parents who look like him can be on TV. Alas. Yan Yan sighed, looking like he hated iron. Xia Huanhuan nodded his little head and said, "What's wrong with running to the Northeast? Your dad is also on a mission, and it's your turn to dislike him?" Yan Yan touched the spot where he was clicked and said with a cowardly smile, "Mom, I just said it casually. How dare I dislike my dad?" After saying that, he couldn't help but sigh again. If his father was on TV, he would be so proud in front of his classmates. Xia Huanhuan guessed what he was thinking and said, "You guys are not allowed to talk nonsense when you go out, do you hear me? Otherwise, be careful when you come back." The triplets sighed sadly and said, "I understand."
Mom.
The adults also saw it. After hearing Xia Huanhuan's words, Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yiru didn't doubt it, thinking that maybe Li Zhan really went to the Northeast. Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang were different. In the evening, Shen Wanxue quietly asked Xia Huanhuan, "Huanhuan, did Li Zhan really go to the Northeast?" Xia Huanhuan lowered his voice, shook his head and said, Actually, I do too. I don't know. Maybe that's him on TV. After hearing this, Shen Wenxue felt a little excited. Her son is indeed very good to be a guard for such an important person. Your dad, and I also think we look alike. We knew it when we heard what you said. In late July, a letter came from the nursing home, saying that Grandma Luo was bedridden and asked Xia Huanhuan to go and take a closer look. Xia Huanhuan passed immediately. Grandma Luo was already a little confused, but she could still recognize Xia Huanhuan and grabbed Xia Huanhuan and refused to let go. Huanhuan, it's you. Xia Huanhuan said quickly. Auntie, it's me. I'm here to pick you up and stay at home for a few days. Grandma Luo was startled for a moment and then asked, Go home? Also. That's fine. The big peach tree at home must have produced a lot of peaches. After hearing this, Xia Huanhuan knew she had misunderstood. What she meant was to take her to the courtyard. She had just checked Grandma Luo's pulse, and she was afraid that she might be in her old age. For the rest of the days, she just wanted to take care of him as much as she could. Anyway, it is her summer vacation, and she has nothing else to do except to check out the progress of the hotel's renovations and use the space to go to Guang City to buy some clothes and send fresh ingredients to the county. However, Xia Huanhuan did not correct her. The leaves have fallen back to their roots. When she was dying, she wanted to go back to the house in Tunghua Lane in the county town. It was only human nature. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Well, I went to see it some time ago. The peaches are in good shape. Each one is as big as a fist, and the tips are already red. Let's go back. Maybe you can still eat them. Can we really eat them? Those peaches are so sweet. Xuxin loves them the most, and she's so naughty. When her father and I aren't paying attention, she'll climb up the tree to pick them. Xia Huanhuan couldn't help feeling a little sad when she heard her talking about her children. Aunt, I'll find a car and we'll go back home in the next 2 days. Xia Huanhuan told her family that she was going to accompany Grandma Luo back to the county town to live for a while. She planned to take the triplets with her, mainly because she thought it would be more lively at home with the triplets making noises. No one at home had any objections, and Lin Yuru said, Let Chunyan go too. You can't handle it all by yourself? Xia Huanhuan disagreed. Chunyan has to go to night school in the evening. Besides, I'm worried about not having Chunyan to take care of the family. It's okay. I'll look for anyone who can help after I get to the county town, and it won't be a problem. However, in the end, Xiaowen was still asked to come along, just in case anything happened, and she could take care of him by running errands or delivering messages. The next day, Xia Huanhuan asked Dahe to help find a car, handle the formalities, and take Grandma Luo to the train station, and then take the train back to the county town. When they arrived at the county town train station, they asked Li Jie to help take her to the house in Tunghua Lane. Although Xia Huanhuan did not live in the house in the county town, she came to clean it every now and then, and every time she came to the county town, she would teleport here directly. Therefore, although the house had been sold for 7 or 8 years, it did not look dilapidated. The old peach tree in the yard was even more fruitful and looked very pleasing. Grandma Luo looked at the familiar courtyard, and tears welled up in her dry eyes. I don't know if it was because she returned to her old house, but Grandma Luo's spirits were much better, and she could even get out of bed and walk around.
Moved.
Xia Huanhuan still took out ice cubes from the space at any time, so the house was not hot in the hot summer. Grandma Luo sometimes sat in a rocking chair under the big peach tree with a basin of ice next to her. The scorching sun in July shone through the dense leaves and fruits of the peach tree, casting spots of light on people and the ground. The triplets played with glass or pushed iron rings in the yard, or were forced by Xia Huanhuan to do their homework with a sad face. Yao Yao would run over with his Chinese textbook from time to time and ask Grandma Luo how to pronounce this word. Grandma Luo was also literate, and after reading it, she told him tremblingly. Yao Yao thanked her happily and ran back to continue writing. Sometimes, when Grandma Luo was in good spirits, the triplets would surround her and ask her to tell stories. During this period, Xia Huanhuan made lighter meals and medicinal soups. Anyway, the meat, vegetables, and so on are all fresh in the space. She would also prepare some tonic prescriptions using tonics such as ginseng and angelica, not to cure diseases but just to nourish a little so that Mrs. Luo can feel better. Xia Huanhuan also asked Xiaowen to climb up the peach tree carefully, pick a few relatively ripe peaches, wash them, and use the juicer in the space to squeeze peach juice for Mrs. Luo to eat. About half a month later, Mrs. Luo suddenly asked Xia Huanhuan to pry open a square brick under the old peach tree and then dig down. Xia Huanhuan was stunned. Could this old lady still bury something in this yard? The house was sold to her, but she didn't dig it away before selling it? Didn't she dig out a gold-painted sandalwood box at the back? Xia Huanhuan opened it and saw that there was indeed a golden box of gold inside. Xia Huanhuan, Mrs. Luo said lightly, this box of yellow things, just think of it as a gift to the little guys. I am an old widower with no relatives, so it is useless to keep her.
Auntie.
Xia Huanhuan didn't know what to say. In fact, she said that she had been taken care of by Grandma Luo for many years, but in fact, she just took her home during holidays or went to see her, and she really didn't do much else. Grandma Luo smiled and said, "Don't refuse. This house has actually been sold to you. You will find this thing sooner or later. In fact, I just revealed the surprise in advance." Cough, cough, cough. As she said, she couldn't help coughing violently twice. Annie, are you okay? Xia Huanhuan hurried over to help her. Grandma Luo waved her hand and said, I'm fine. Cough, cough.
Alas.
We have seen this old house and eaten the peaches on the old peach tree. Tomorrow, let's go back to Beijing. Cough, cough, cough. Miss my children. Xia Huanhuan felt sad when she heard it, nodded, and said, Okay, let's go back to Beijing tomorrow. Xia Huanhuan asked Xiaowen to go and talk to Li Jie. The next day, Li Jie came again and helped to send Grandma Luo to the train station. When they arrived at the train station, it was still Dahe who came to pick them up. Xia Huanhuan originally planned to take Grandma Luo to the courtyard. However, Grandma Luo did not agree, so she went directly back to the sanatorium. She was in good spirits. She leaned on a cane and let Xia Huanhuan support her. She brought fruits, flowers, and some cakes that her children liked to eat, and went to the martyrs' cemetery tremblingly. She stayed there for an afternoon before coming back. That night, she was on her deathbed and died in the second half of the night. She passed away peacefully. The sanatorium was originally responsible for the funeral. However, Xia Huanhuan still offered to pay for the funeral to be more splendid. She received a box of gold from Grandma Luo, so it was only natural for her to help deal with the funeral. Li Zhan came back around mid-August, and after listening to Xia Huanhuan's explanation of the whole story, he also helped to deal with these matters. By the time this matter was settled, it was already late August. Yu Siju also reached her due date and gave birth to a daughter in the hospital. Fu Nanjing was extremely happy. A big doctor looking at such a small daughter, he was actually a little at a loss. He was afraid of hurting his daughter, even if he hugged her. Fu Weixin and Old Man Fu also came to the hospital in person to see her, and the family was full of joy. Xia Huanhuan made a longevity lock with gold as a gift for the little guy. Fu Nanjing thought it was too expensive at first and refused to accept it, but Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, It's not for you. Why are you refusing?
Don't worry.
Now the clothing store and the stewed food store are doing well, and we have made a lot of money from selling electrical appliances. Our family is not as poor as you think. Fu Nanjing had to accept it after hearing this. In early September, the new semester started. Chen Lu also brought good news. Her family finally agreed to her and Yan Haotian's relationship. Xia Huanhuan was also happy for them and couldn't help but ask with a smile, Did you get your parents' consent? Or did you get married privately? Chen Lu blushed and smiled. You are making fun of me again. Haotian didn't agree to get married privately. My parents later agreed. It was a coincidence that she agreed so quickly. As soon as Chen Lu returned to Guangshi, she hadn't had time to meet Yan Haotian yet. Her parents knew that she still had feelings for Yan Haotian, the soldier, so they immediately arranged a blind date for her. The other party was also the director of a department in Guangshi with a stable job and had just been allocated a house. The only difference was that he was short and not very good-looking. After meeting him, Chen-Lu disagreed. Chen-Lu's mother couldn't help but scold her. Xiao Zhang has a stable job, a house, and is a local. You will enjoy life if you marry him. How is he not better than that, Yan? I heard that his hometown is in the countryside, and he doesn't even have a house in Guangzhou. In a few years, if he goes home for his major, you, a college student from Peking University, are you going to follow him back to the countryside to farm? Chen-Lu couldn't help but retort when she heard her mother belittling Yan Haotian again. Mom, don't be so prejudiced against him. He is a soldier, defending his country, which is much more noble than having a stable job. Anyway, I don't agree with that, Xiao Zhang. In this life, I will not marry anyone other than Yan Haotian. Chen-Lu's mother was so angry that she didn't eat that night. The next day, Chen-Lu was worried about Yan Haotian's injury and wanted to go out to see her, but she found herself locked in a room and couldn't get out. Chen-Lu was angry and anxious and could only talk to her mother in a nice voice. Mom, what are you doing? Let me out quickly. Chen-Lu's mother said coldly, as long as you promise not to be with that Yan Haotian, I will let you out. Mom is doing this for your own good. Mom, you can't be so unreasonable.
Dad, talk to my mom.
However, no matter what Chen-Lu said, her mother would not give in. Chen-Lu's father usually listened to Chen-Lu's mother, and he was in a dilemma, so he had to hide and go to work. Chen-Lu used to be very close to Yan Haotian, and when he hadn't seen her for a few days, Yan Haotian knew that something had probably happened. He went to Chen-Lu's house to see what was going on. It was just a coincidence that the summer heat was very hot, and Chen-Lu's mother hadn't eaten well for the past few days. She probably got heat stroke and fainted. The key point was that when she fainted, she also twisted her ankle. It happened that Chen-Lu was still locked in the house and couldn't get out, and there was no phone at home to contact the outside world. Chen-Lu could only ask for help outside through the window. Yan Haotian happened to be downstairs, and he rushed upstairs after hearing it. Not caring about the injury on his chest, he kicked the door open with all his strength, and then kicked the door of Chen-Lu's room open, and then he carried Chen-Lu's mother on his back and rushed her to the hospital. Chen-Lu quickly sent someone to send a message to her father, and she was so anxious that she could only follow Yan Haotian to the hospital. Because of this, Chen-Lu's father was very grateful to Yan Haotian. Yan Haotian had visited the beef offal rice noodle roll shop, where Chen-Lu's father worked many times. Chen-Lu's father actually had a good impression of Yan Haotian, a young man. He was tall, handsome, and cheerful, but he couldn't get over his wife's prejudice. However, this time Yan Haotian saved Chen-Lu's mother, and Chen-Lu's father rarely stood on the side of Yan Haotian and his daughter. Chen-Lu's father took the opportunity when Chen-Lu and Yan Haotian went home together to make soup for Chen-Lu's mother and sent it to her, and couldn't help but scold her. You should be quiet too. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. I think Xiao Yan is pretty good. He is a good-looking man, and he is also a soldier who defends his country. He is not much worse than that Xiao Zhang. It is glorious for any daughter to get married.
But you
have petty bourgeois thinking. Chen-Lu's mother was furious when she saw that Chen-Lu's father, who always listened to her, actually went against her. I have petty bourgeois thinking? I just want our daughter not to suffer after she gets married. That Yan Haotian, a soldier from another place, doesn't even have a house. The army is mobilized at any time, and there is definitely no talk of allocating houses. In a few years, he will be demobilized and go back to his hometown in the countryside. Do you have the heart to let our daughter suffer in the countryside? Chen-Lu's father said. You just think too much. We mainly look at the character. Even if Xiao Yan is demobilized in the future, he will not be assigned a job and will have to go back to the countryside. Let's not let him go back, and let him stay in Guangzhou. The house. Anyway, we only have one daughter, and the house will be given to them in the future. We can help them more, isn't it? Chen-Lu's mother glared at him. You are just trying to smooth things over. That Yan Haotian, what's good about him except that he looks good? How come you gave Lulu a love potion? Just as he was talking, Chen-Lu and Yan Haotian came in. Mom, how are you? Haotian and I made you a summer heat soup with old winter melon and lotus leaves. The lotus leaves were fresh, tender lotus leaves that Haotian picked specially. When Chunlu's mother saw Yan Haotian, her face turned cold, but since there were outsiders around, she couldn't just get angry, so she said coldly, "Put it down. I'll drink it later." Yan Haotian didn't care and smiled. Then Chunlu, uncle and aunt, "I have some things to do in the army. I will come over tomorrow." Chunlu sent him out and said worriedly, "My mother has a bad temper. Don't mind it." Yan Haotian patted her head and smiled. "I know. I will come over tomorrow. But let me be frank, next time your mother wants to lock you up again, I will go to your house and kick the door even if it makes her angry." Chunlu couldn't help but hit him and said with a smile, "You'll scare my mother if you do this.
But
It's a good thing that you kicked the door this time. By the way, does the wound on your chest still hurt? Wasn't it involved last time when you kicked the door?" Yan Haotian smiled. "It's okay. It doesn't hurt now." In the next few days, Yan Haotian really came every day, either bringing mung bean soup, or stewed pig lungs with Sichuan fritillary and snow pear, or spare ribs and chicken feet. Although they were all cooked together with Chunlu's mother's complexion was indeed much better. After staying in the hospital for a few days, the doctor agreed to discharge her. However, Chunlu's mother's leg was sprained, and it was not completely healed yet. There is no problem walking on the flat road. The key is that their house is on the 4th floor, and it is a bit dangerous to go up the stairs. If she falls down the stairs again, she will be hurt more seriously. Yan Haotian did not say a word and carried Chunlu's mother on his back. Chunlu's mother was reluctant at first, but Yan Haotian moved too fast. No matter how much she refused, Yan Haotian had already carried her up the stairs at full speed. After recuperating at home for about another week, Yan Haotian still came every few days, just like when he went to the hospital. She was not able to move around conveniently now, and could not chase him away. She could only watch Chunlu and Chunlu's father indulge Yan Haotian in doing this at home.
out.
However, after a few days, Chunlu's mother also saw that Yan Haotian was indeed a young man. He went to the kitchen to help make soup and cook, clean the house, and even help change the gas tank and so on. She did a lot of things. When her daughter saw Yan Haotian, her eyes were full of light, and Chunlu's mother gradually softened. In mid-August, Chunlu's mother's feet finally got better, and she could move freely. Yan Haotian had a temporary task in August, and didn't come for more than a week. Chunlu's mother couldn't help wondering, is it possible that he has only been here to show his courtesy for half a month and then backed off? Let's have him come to our house for a meal in 2 days. Chunlu's mother suddenly said one day, without thinking. Chunlu's father and Chunlu didn't react for a while. Chunlu's father asked in a daze, "Who should come?" Chunlu's mother looked awkward. "Who else can it be? Just that person." Chunlu reacted and went over to grab her mother's hand in surprise and smiled. "Mom, are you talking about Haotian? Do you agree with us? I'll go tell him right now." After saying that, he immediately rushed out the door. Chunlu's father looked at Chunlu's mother with a smile and whispered, "Have you thought it through?" Chunlu's mother rolled her eyes at him and said, "Go to the market in a few days and pick out some better black chickens, ribs, vegetables, and the like. We need to host a banquet and can't use bad ingredients." Chunlu's father agreed. "Okay. Don't worry." Chunlu's mother sighed and then said, "We still have a little savings. We will ask around later to see if there is a more suitable house closer to our home. If someone is willing to sell it, we will buy it then. It can be regarded as a small home for them. Otherwise, will we still live in the army dormitory after getting married?" Chunlu's father nodded and said, "I'll listen to you. However, you think so far ahead. It seems that you have accepted Xiaoyan in your heart a long time ago, right?" Chunlu's mother glared at him again and said, "What's the point of me accepting or not? Who told your daughter to be so willful? She just had to have that one." The next day, Yan Haotian came to the door with some candies and snacks. Chunlu's mother and Chunlu's father prepared a table of delicious food together. Everyone was seated. Chunlu's mother looked at Yan Haotian and said seriously, "Inviting you home for dinner today doesn't mean that I completely accept you. At most, I agree that you and our Lulu can date. I see that you are not young anymore, but Lulu is still in college after all, and it is uncertain where she'll be assigned after graduation. Therefore, you can date, but the matter of marriage should be mentioned after Lulu graduates. If you agree to this, I will not interfere with you." After hearing this, Chenlu couldn't help shouting, "Mom." Yan Haotian smiled and said, "Aunt, I also plan to get married after Chenlu graduates. There is no problem with this."
But
Chenlu was a little anxious. After experiencing Yan Haotian's injury, she really didn't want any more twists and turns. Yan Haotian said gently, "Lulu, it's okay." Things were settled like this, and Chenlu's parents did not tell them that they would help them buy a house in the future. As for the engagement banquet, it was not held for the time being. You and your uncle and aunt are both in Beijing. For such a big thing as an engagement, you must discuss it with your uncle and aunt first. Haotian said that during the winter vacation, he would pick up your uncle and aunt to Guangzhou to celebrate the new year, and then we can do it together. Xia Huanhuan listened and smiled. That's fine. There is nothing much left at home, and it is warm in Guangzhou in winter, so let them live in Guangzhou for a while. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru were very happy when they heard about this. Yan Haotian's lifelong event has always been a concern for them. That's good, your brother is finally getting married. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Mom, it's not a marriage, it's an engagement." Lin Yuru smiled and said, "Well, in our country, being engaged is almost the same as getting married." In early September, the renovation of Yuanxiangju was completed. Xia Huanhuan and Qi Jian went to take a look. The stairs were newly painted, and the rotten wood was replaced. The tables and chairs were already in place. On the wall behind the counter, there were small wooden signs with the names of various dishes in an antique style. The whole building looked a little fresher. The sign of Yuanxiangju outside the building had not been hung up yet. It would be hung up 2 days before the opening. Qi Jian looked at this familiar yet unfamiliar old building and felt a sense of emotion in his heart. Xia Huanhuan began to add pots, pans, and other things to the building. After the chefs came in, she checked the orders and prepared the ingredients in the space. As for the waiters and shopkeepers in the lobby, Xia Huanhuan had already found them. Xia Huanhuan also specially designed uniforms for the store. There was one for the kitchen staff and another for the waiters in the lobby. They were all given to the county textile factory in advance to help process the uniforms. Each person in the store had 2 sets to change and wear. The autumn and winter uniforms were distributed first, and the uniforms would be replaced tomorrow. At the turn of spring and summer uniforms were distributed separately. Soon at the end of September, the sign of Yuanxiangju was hung, but covered with a red cloth. On October 1st, even District Chief Wang and Aunt Sun from the street came to support the opening of the first private restaurant in the district. Firecrackers were set off again, and then a brief opening ceremony was held. The district leaders and Xia Huanhuan took down the red cloth on Yuanxiangju, and it was considered open. There was still a big promotion for the opening. Everyone who entered the store would get a portion of Jiuzhuan large intestine for 3 consecutive days. Then plus, Yuanxiangju is a well-known old brand. Therefore, the restaurant was almost packed with customers as soon as it opened. The 3 chefs and other chefs in the kitchen worked around the clock, but they still couldn't keep up with the orders. After all, the waiters in the lobby were all newcomers, and they were still a little unfamiliar with taking orders and serving guests. Xia Huanhuan had to come over and put on her uniform when she didn't have classes, helping out in the restaurant and training the newcomers at the same time. On the 5th day of opening, when Xia Huanhuan was helping to serve the dishes, Li Jixin and Feng Yu happened to pass by the hotel entrance. Feng Yu was sharp-eyed and immediately pointed to Li Jixin. "Hey, Jixin, look, isn't this Xia Huanhuan? How come she is working as a waitress in a hotel?" Li Jixin saw this and couldn't help but flash a look of contempt in her eyes. She thought she was so great to marry a man of deputy division rank, but it seems that her family is quite short of money, and they want her to work as a waitress in a restaurant to earn money. It's really quite embarrassing for the students of Peking University. Feng Yu was a shallow-eyed person and immediately said, "Jixin, do you think we should go in and order a few dishes to embarrass her?" Feng Yu said, and couldn't help licking her lips. She didn't have much money. It is said that all the chefs in Yangjiangju are good cooks, and the food tastes first-rate, but the price is also high. Moreover, it has only been less than a year since the opening, and everyone's life is actually not much different from a year ago. Most families can only afford to eat meat during festivals. Ordering a few dishes in a restaurant is still a luxury, and only those with a better financial situation dare to do so. Feng Yu's family is average, so naturally she is reluctant to do so. But Li Jixin is different. Feng Yu knows that Li Jixin's family opened a small restaurant. Although she doesn't know how much money they make, it is a lot of money anyway. She wanted Li Jixin to invite her in for a meal, so that she can see the world. However, Li Jixin and Sun Hui, not the same. Sun Hui likes to show off, and is quite generous. Before she was fired, she would often invite her to the cafeteria for a meal, or give her some small gifts. But Li Jixin is a low-key person. She can't be considered low-key, but the type who thinks she is noble. She doesn't take the initiative to show off, but wants others to know that she is very capable. When it comes to money, she is not as generous as Sun Hui. But Feng Yu is indispensable. After all, without Feng Yu, how can Li Jixin's superiority be highlighted? Therefore, Li Jixin would give Feng Yu some small favors from time to time. After listening to Feng Yu's words, Li Jixin glanced at Feng Yu with a condescending look, and then said, "Forget it today. I have something to do when I go back. Let's talk about it in 2 days." Having said that, he walked away in a domineering manner. Feng Yu couldn't help curling her lips behind him. She naturally felt that Li Jixin looked down on her.
But
Li Jixin's family had some connections in Beijing, and she was still fantasizing that after graduation, Li Jixin could help her with a job assignment, and assign her a good job, preferably one that would allow her to stay in Beijing. However, a few days later, Li Jixin was so generous that he invited several classmates in the department, including several classmates who came from wealthy families and had a good impression of Xia Huanhuan, to have dinner at the newly opened Yangjiangju. He even invited Chen Lu for the first time. However, for some reason, Xia Huanhuan was left out. Seeing Li Jixin like this, Chen Lu refused, and there was no go. Li Jixin's move was obviously intended to isolate Xia Huanhuan. If she wanted to have a meal, she would go along. If Huanhuan knew about it, wouldn't she be heartbroken? Li Jixin was rejected and a little angry. She cursed in her heart that Xia Huanhuan was shameless, but she still had a condescending look on her face. Feng Yu was also smart. On the day when Li Jixin invited guests, she secretly went to Yangjiangju in advance. After seeing Xia Huanhuan wearing a waiter's uniform and busying around, she came back and secretly told Li Jixin. Li Jixin nodded, still smiling, and went to Yangjiangju with a group of 5 or 6 classmates. As soon as they entered, Xia Huanhuan came out with a plate of 9-turn large intestines and served the dishes. "Your 9-turn large intestines, please enjoy." Several other classmates from the same department were stunned for a moment when they saw Xia Huanhuan wearing a waiter's uniform. Then they were shocked. "Xia Huanhuan, why are you here? What are you doing?" a classmate asked in astonishment. Feng Yu immediately replied, "Huanhuan, is your family not well off, so you come here to work part-time as a waitress during the break from classes? Jixin and I used to see your father riding a cart to haul coal for people." Li Jixin also pretended to be surprised and said, "Huanhuan, we are in the same dormitory. Your family is so difficult. You could have told me. I have an aunt who is a manager in a state-owned department store. I can talk to her and arrange for you to be a salesperson. You are just too polite." When Xia Huanhuan saw this scene and listened to what Feng Yu and Li Jixin said, she probably knew what they were planning to do. They came here specifically to laugh at her. She didn't show any embarrassment on her face and said generously, "What a coincidence that you two met here today. Are you coming to eat together? There are empty seats upstairs. Or, do you want to sit downstairs?" As she said that, she looked at Li Jixin and smiled. "Jixin, thank you for your concern. However, this restaurant pays quite a bit, so I'll just work here. I won't bother your aunt." Li Jixin looked at Xia Huanhuan, trying to see some shame on her face, but Xia Huanhuan was calm and composed. Li Jixin's face turned ugly. Several of the students felt a little embarrassed. Xia Huanhuan was beautiful, had good grades, was helpful in the department, and had good relationships with people. If they knew in advance that Xia Huanhuan was working and studying in this restaurant, they would definitely not come here on purpose to embarrass Xia Huanhuan. However, let us go to another restaurant. That's it. Li Zhixin and Feng Yu looked anxious. How could they change places now? This didn't embarrass Xia Huanhuan yet. However, before they spoke, Xia Huanhuan spoke first. No, come in now. The dishes in our restaurant are all made by master chefs, and they taste great. Li Zhixin also said immediately, since Huanhuan said so, let's eat here. Huanhuan, can you introduce us to your signature dishes? You don't have to save money for me. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, so it's you, Zhixin, who's treating us? You're really generous.
Come, what do you think of this table?
After everyone sat down, Xia Huanhuan handed a large menu that looked like a book to Li Zhixin. Everyone else couldn't help but be surprised. Huh? Aren't menus usually hung on the wall? This one is made into a book? It's quite exquisite. Li Zhixin flipped through the menu. Most of the prices were quite affordable. Vegetarian dishes were usually priced between 80 cents and over 1 yuan, while meat dishes were only 2 or 3 yuan. However, there were a few main dishes that were more expensive, some costing 5 or 8 yuan. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Zhixin just asked me to recommend a few. I'll recommend a few. Scallion fried sea cucumber, for happiness meatballs, and 9-turn large intestine are all signature Shandong dishes in our restaurant. As for Hunan cuisine, stir-fried yellow beef, steamed cured meat, and chopped pepper fish head are all specialties. If you order 2 more vegetarian dishes, you'll be almost there. Oh, by the way, we also have bird's nest porridge, which is also a specialty. Li Zhixin's face turned pale when she heard this, and she wanted to kill Xia Huanhuan. The dishes Xia Huanhuan recommended to her were all 5 or 8 yuan worth of main dishes. And the bird's nest porridge was the most expensive, 5 yuan for a casserole. If there were 8 or 9 people at the table, 3 casseroles would probably be enough to share. After Xia Huanhuan made her recommendations, she didn't forget to say caringly, how is it? Zhixin, if you think it's okay, I'll notify the kitchen to place the order. One of the classmates said, you don't have to order all of them, just 3 or 4 dishes will be enough. Li Zhixin was now in a dilemma. After hearing what this classmate said, she felt even more embarrassed and forced to smile. How can 3 or 4 dishes be enough? Huanhuan, then bring up the ones you mentioned. Roughly speaking, this meal would cost at least 40 or 50 yuan. However, the more money she spent, the more embarrassed Xia Huanhuan looked. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Zhixin, you are so generous. I'll go and notify the kitchen right away. Li Zhixin's eyes darkened. How could Xia Huanhuan be so happy even though she had become her waiter? Shouldn't she be ashamed? After a while, the dishes came up. Li Zhixin said with a fake smile, Huanhuan, why don't you sit down and eat together? If your boss is here, I'll talk to him. Feng Yu also said, that's it. Huanhuan talked to her boss. We are classmates. Your boss will definitely understand. After Li Zhixin finished speaking, he looked at Xia Huanhuan with a half smile, hoping to see an expression of shame on her face. Unfortunately, nothing was seen. Xia Huanhuan curved her lips and smiled, saying, no, you guys eat. The store is busy, and I can't spare my hands. Everyone was eating a little hard to describe. Li Zhixin recovered quickly, with a smile on his face and his usual arrogance. After the meal, Li Zhixin asked Xia Huanhuan to come and pay the bill. Xia Huanhuan smiled. The total is 48 yuan. The other classmates wanted to pay, but Feng Yu didn't move. She was not going to pay at all. If she knew she had to pay, she would never come to eat. She didn't have to pay for it herself to do Li Zhixin a favor. Li Zhixin had prepared himself mentally during the meal. He took out 5 big unity notes and smiled. It's okay. I said I'd treat you. How can I let you pay at the last minute? What would I be like then? Xia Huanhuan took the money, went over to get $2 in change, and gave it back to Li Zhixin. Li Zhixin said condescendingly again, Huanhuan, think about what I just said. Being a part-time salesperson in a department store is better than serving dishes here. Xia Huanhuan glanced at her. with a sneer on the corner of her lips. She was really persistent. Before she could speak, a waiter came over and said, "Manager, Chef Young asked me to ask you to go to the kitchen. He said that there are not enough fish heads, and we need to get some urgently." Xia Huanhuan heard it and said, "I know. You go and get busy first." Then she turned to Li Jixin and others and said, "I'm busy, so I won't tell you yet. Come back next time, and I'll give you a discount." Having said that, he turned and went to the kitchen, leaving Li Jixin and others dumbfounded. A classmate asked with some stammering, "Just now, the waitress called Xia Huanhuan what?" "What? It seems to be the manager?" "The manager is the former shopkeeper, right?"
But
"Isn't Xia Huanhuan working part-time to earn money for her studies? How did she become a manager?" Li Jixin's face turned pale. "How is it possible? Xia Huanhuan is the manager? What a joke. There must be a mistake." As a qualified follower, Feng Yu couldn't hold back his temper and pulled a waiter and asked, "Hey, comrade, you just called Xia Huanhuan. What? Manager? Isn't she just a part-time waitress?" The waiter was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "Comrade, what are you talking about? That's our boss, but we are not familiar with him yet, and the store is busy, so the manager came to entertain the guests in person. How could he be a waiter?" Feng Yu was stunned. "Old boss." The waiter smiled. "Yes. This whole restaurant is owned by our manager's family, and I was recruited by her." Li Jixin's face turned black. "Is this restaurant owned by Xia Huanhuan's family? With her poor family background and her father being a coal hauler, how is it possible? How is it possible? She must have secretly informed you and asked you to lie to save face for her, right?" Feng Yu said sharply. The waiter was very puzzled. "Comrade, our boss is our boss. Why should I lie to you? If you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it." After saying that, he walked away. At this time, Qi Jian came in from outside, and as soon as he came in, he asked, "Where is your manager? I have something good to tell her." The waiter smiled and said, "Mr. Qi, the manager is in the kitchen and should be out soon." One of the classmates said, "This old gentleman's surname is Qi, and he should be the former young master of Yuanxiangju." Li Jixin and Feng Yu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief after seeing this. It seemed that Xia Huanhuan was lying. The real boss is here, right? Since the restaurant is still called Yuanxiangju, it must be the Qi family's restaurant. As they were talking, Xia Huanhuan came out from the kitchen. Li Jixin and Feng Yu were not in a hurry to leave, waiting to see her being exposed. When Qi Jian saw Xia Huanhuan coming out, he went up with a cane and said with a smile, "Huanhuan, I was looking for you. The street office just found me and said that the day after tomorrow, District Chief Wang will receive foreign guests and the banquet will be held in our Yuanxiangju. District Chief Wang has personally given instructions and you, the boss, have to accompany District Chief Wang to receive foreign guests." Xia Huanhuan was stunned for a moment and said with a smile, "Why do you want me to receive them? I can't handle it." Qi Jian smiled and said, "Don't refuse. You are a top student from Peking University, and now you are the owner of the first private restaurant in our district. You have to come even if you can't handle it. District Chief Wang said that you are a role model for our district." At this point, Li Jixin, Feng Yu, and others were completely dumbfounded.
And
With the district chief to receive foreign guests? This. My goodness, Xia Huanhuan is actually the boss? A classmate couldn't help but exclaimed in admiration. Li Jixin was no longer in the mood to slap herself in the face. She originally thought that the snack bar opened by her family could make a net profit of 200 to 300 yuan per month, which was already above the average person. But she didn't expect that Xia Huanhuan would suddenly become the boss of such a big restaurant. Let alone other things. The rent for this building alone must be over 1,000 a month. They hired so many people. How much salary do they have to pay? If calculated, the cost per month is probably several thousand yuan. Compared with Yuanxiangju, her snack bar is so embarrassing that it's embarrassing to even mention it. Moreover, the district chief even specifically named her and asked her to accompany guests. Li Jixin felt extremely unbalanced. She originally came here to slap Xia Huanhuan in the face and laugh at her, but in the end, she found that there was an insurmountable gap between her and Xia Huanhuan. However, this time, Xia Huanhuan was the one on top, and she became the one who was humbled to the ground. How could things turn out like this?
No.
This must be Xia Huanhuan lying. Since she works part-time as a waitress here, it is possible for her to ask the boss of Yuanxiangju to lie a few words on her behalf and to support her. After all, she had to admit that with Xia Huanhuan's foxy looks, it is still very likely that she can attract men, women, young and old. Hey, how about we come over the day after tomorrow to have a look and see what the foreign guests look like? A classmate whispered to the classmate next to him. Li Jixin's heart moved. Yes. Come and see the day after tomorrow, and you will know whether Xia Huanhuan is bluffing or not. If District Chief Wang does not show up the day after tomorrow, it will be so funny. Li Jixin thought about this and calmed down a little. Still holding her proud head, she went out. Time soon came to the day after tomorrow. Li Jixin deliberately dressed low-key and came with a best friend. They found a corner seat and prepared. This time, she did not look for Feng Yu, mainly because of Feng Yu's noisy temper. If she started to make a fuss again, she would be embarrassed too. In addition, she was afraid of losing face in front of Feng Yu. After sitting down and ordering a few dishes casually, Li Jixin looked around and felt a little relieved. This Yuanxiangju was basically the same as the day before yesterday. If it was to receive foreign guests, wouldn't the place have to be cleared? Wouldn't there be some warm welcome banners outside and a few pots of flowers? There was no movement at all. Do you think there will be foreign guests coming in a while? This is a lie. Just as he was thinking this, a waiter came in, stood at the door of the kitchen, and said excitedly, "It's coming. It's ready." Li Jixin's heart sank. After a while, he saw 2 jeeps parked outside the window. Then, a man in his 40s or 50s got out of the car, followed by a few blonde foreigners, and then Xia Huanhuan actually got out of the car together. District Chief Wang and several of his entourage were all wearing Zhongshan suits, with buttons buttoned up meticulously. Xia Huanhuan put on some light makeup, but she was wearing a long-sleeved, slim-fitting skirt that reached her ankles, sweeping away the gray and conservative style of the past few years, but slightly bolder, showing a new look after the opening up. Xia Huanhuan guided in a fluent foreign language. "Everyone, please come this way." On the way, District Chief Wang had seen Xia Huanhuan's style of speaking foreign languages, which was better than the 2 translators he brought with him. She chatted and laughed with foreign guests, but she was neither humble nor arrogant. District Chief Wang's eyes lit up. Unexpectedly, their district was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Originally, he just thought that Xia Huanhuan must have received funding from the Fu family to open the store. Now, he really looks at this woman in front of him with new eyes. Li Jixin looked at Xia Huanhuan in the crowd. She was like a dazzling star, not inferior to the foreign female guests in small suits and skirts. She was so jealous that she almost broke the chopsticks in her hand. Xia Huanhuan led a group of people to the 2nd floor. Li Jixin couldn't eat anymore. She was so angry that she paid the bill and left. Xia Huanhuan didn't notice Li Jixin sitting in the corner, but she didn't care about Li Jixin in this situation. She introduced the signature dishes of Yuanxiangju to the foreign guests generously, but when it was time to step down, she didn't show off. The main time of the banquet was for District Chief Wang to talk with foreign guests. District Chief Wang also felt very proud. The foreign guests received this time were mainly for attracting investment. But if you want to attract investment, you have to show them your investment environment, right? That's why they didn't go to the old state-owned restaurant, but came to Yuanxiangju. Now, as the owner of Yuanxiangju, Xia Huanhuan performed so well, fully reflecting the investment situation in Beijing. Isn't that giving him face? Mr. Robert, this Yuanxiangju is the first large private restaurant in our district. Comrade Xia is the boss. As you can see, Yuanxiangju is now full of customers, which shows that the investment environment in our Jingshi is still very good. Mr. Robert, if you decide to invest in our district, then we also have many preferential policies in terms of rent and tax, said District Chief Wang. The foreigner called Robert nodded and smiled. Miss Xia has shown me the prospects for the development of Jingshi's business. I will report the results of this investigation to the headquarters and finally decide whether to invest in Jingshi. The reception of foreign guests was successfully concluded, and the name of Yuanxiangju became more famous. In early October, Fu Nanjing and Yu Siju held a full moon banquet for their daughter, and this time they also chose Yuanxiangju to hold the banquet. Mr. Fu and Fu Weixin also came, and they were very pleased to see Xia Huanhuan running such a large restaurant in a decent manner. As expected of the daughter of their Fu family, she is capable. Now it is October, and it is about to get cold again, so Xia Huanhuan commissioned the garment workshop of the county textile factory to make winter clothes for her. This time she designed 2 more styles, but the materials used are the same as last year, and the quantity required is also doubled, 200 sets. Xia Huanhuan prepared 150 pieces for her own clothing store in Jingshi, and the remaining 50 pieces were for Zhou Qiuhua. Zhou Qiuhua still works in the department store, but now there are many more small vendors setting up stalls outside in the county, and many of them sell clothes. Many of them even set up stalls in front of the department store. Zhou Qiuhua watched every day and found that the business was much more prosperous than that of the department store. She also had the idea of setting up a stall and trying. When Xia Huanhuan heard about it, she gave her part of the goods she imported from Guangshi. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Anyway, I'll give her the cost after selling the clothes. If they can't be sold, I can just return the clothes to her so that Zhou Qiuhua doesn't have to worry about the future." However, when Xia Huanhuan gave Zhou Qiuhua the clothes, she also added a little more to her purchase price. Relatives are relatives, and it's impossible for them to help for free. Zhou Qiuhua had set up a night market for a few days in late summer and early autumn. Xia Huanhuan's selection of products was better than others, and the goods were directly purchased from Guangshi, which was cheaper than other people in the county who bought goods from second-hand dealers, so she was very popular. In just half a month, she made tens of thousands of dollars. This winter clothes were the ones Zhou Qiuhua asked Xia Huanhuan to keep for her. After making money by setting up a stall in the summer, Zhou Qiuhua couldn't help but want to resign again. The distribution of houses was far away, and the business of department stores was gradually taken away by small vendors who didn't charge tickets and had cheaper prices. She felt that there was no future if she continued to waste time. Zhou Qiuhua mentioned this to Xia Huanhuan again, wanting to hear Xia Huanhuan's opinion. Xia Huanhuan was not ambiguous this time, and she agreed with Zhou Qiuhua's resignation in her heart. It's just that running a business by yourself will definitely not be smooth sailing, and after losing your iron rice bowl, there will be no guarantee, welfare, housing distribution, etc. There will be no more. Welfare housing distribution will continue for nearly 20 years. Although commercial housing will gradually develop in the next 20 years, the housing prices are definitely not something that ordinary families can afford. Zhou Qiuhua nodded firmly and said, "Huanhuan, I've thought about it. I think private business will definitely become more and more prosperous in the future. Li Jie and I don't have any foundation, so we should seize the opportunity earlier, otherwise, we will have no capital to turn over in the future. Moreover, even if our business fails, the worst that can happen is that we go back to the village to farm. We'll start all over again." Xia Huanhuan was impressed by Zhou Qiuhua's courage. She knew that Zhou Qiuhua's father was an accountant, and she had also been to school for a few years, but even high school students or even college students did not have the courage to take this step, and there were many people who were imprisoned by the iron rice bowl for their entire lives. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "It seems that you have made up your mind, and you just want me to give you courage again, right?" Zhou Qiuhua was a little embarrassed and said, "The main thing is, I'm afraid Li Jie will not agree." Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "I'll let Li Zhan talk to the third brother about this matter. But let's be frank, no one knows what the future will be like now. If things don't go well in the future, you can't blame me and Li Zhan for instigating you." Zhou Qiuhua hurriedly said seriously, "Huanhuan, who do you think of me and Li Jie? Don't worry, this is my own decision, and I will never complain when the time comes." Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Then I'm relieved. But what are your plans after you resign?" Zhou Qiuhua said, I think I will mainly run a snack bar and set up a stall for clothing first, and don't do anything else for now. After a while, I will look for a store and see if I can open a small clothing store. Xia Huanhuan nodded. Zhou Qiuhe is different from her. She does not have enough funds to back her up, so it is right to set up a stall first to accumulate experience and funds, and then open a store. Otherwise, if you rashly open a store when you are not familiar with everything, you may lose everything. Then, during the winter vacation, you and I will go to Guangzhou to see the wholesale market and popular trends there. In the clothing business, style is very important, and you must also learn how to choose styles in order to last long. Zhou Qiuhe listened and said gratefully, Huan, thank you. If it weren't for you, I would have taken so many detours. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, It's nothing. You will get it if you do it more. However, since you have resigned, have you ever thought about settling down in Beijing? Zhou Qiuhe used to have a job in the county, so she didn't mention it. Now that Zhou Qiuhe has decided to resign, it is a good idea to come to Beijing for development. Not to mention the county, even the capital of Hebei province will be several times ahead of Beijing in future development. Zhou Qiuhe widened her eyes. It's not that she hadn't thought about moving her family to Beijing like Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan. But Li Zhan is an officer. Xia Huanhuan was admitted to Beijing University, and her biological parents are both from Beijing. It's only natural for their family to go to Beijing. She and Li Jia are from the countryside, and they don't have any Beijing experience. Going to Beijing? It's even more unreliable than a daydream. Zhou Qiuhe just fantasized secretly and never thought about realizing it. Then Beijing City. People like me and Li Jia, who don't have much background. Can we really go there? Let's not talk about anything else. The letter of introduction has not been cancelled yet. To put it nicely, they are private business owners doing small business. To put it bluntly, they are unemployed vagrants. Settling in Beijing City. How dare you think about it? Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, If you have this idea, Li Zhan and I will help you find a store or something. You can come here to settle down first, and then develop slowly. It will be more difficult to get a household registration, but it is not impossible. As for the schooling of the children at home, Li Zhan and I will think of a way, and it should be possible to transfer to the class. Xia Huanhuan did not dare to say too much, but at least she and Li Zhan could think of a way to solve the problem of the children's schooling. Zhou Qiuhe was somewhat tempted after hearing this, but they had just established a foothold in the county town, and going to Beijing City would also be a huge decision, so she herself did not dare to make a rash decision. I'll go back and discuss it with Li Jia. Huan, thank you. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, What are you thanking me for? Although Li Zhan and third brother are not related by blood, they are no worse than brothers. Li Zhan certainly hopes that your lives will get better and better. When Xia Huanhuan returned to Beijing, she told Li Zhan about these things. Li Zhan listened, nodded, and said, That's good. When third brother and others come to Beijing, we can take care of each other. I'll go and ask about the children's schooling tomorrow.
Xia Huanhuan nodded and said, Yeah.
It seems that my third sister-in-law also wants to start a clothing business. I will take her to Guangzhou during the winter vacation. It just so happens that my brother and Chunlu's engagement party is also planned to be held during the winter vacation, so I can go there with my parents then. The two talked for a while before they fell asleep. Now the triplets have moved to sleep in the same room with Xiaowen, Xiaowu, and the others, so the two have a lot of time alone. However, they didn't dare to be too loud. After finishing, Li Zhan got up and got some hot water and brought it into the house. It happened that Yi got up to go to the bathroom. Yi saw his father carrying hot water in a daze, rubbed his eyes, and asked in confusion, Dad, what are you doing carrying hot water in the middle of the night? Li Zhan was embarrassed for a moment when he was caught by his own son, but then he showed his father's dignity. Children should not ask about adults' affairs. Yi was called a child for no reason and was very dissatisfied. After thinking about it, he suddenly realized and said, Dad, didn't you wash your feet? My mom doesn't let you go to bed. You are too careless about hygiene. After that, he yawned and went to the toilet. Li Zhan. This little rascal, he keeps making trouble all day long. He actually dared to slander his dad. Xia Huanhuan in the room was almost laughing to death. Li Zhan looked at his wife, gloating there with a bad mood. Xia Huanhuan covered her stomach and laughed. Oh, you said you. I'll just go into the space to clean up, but you insisted on getting water. Li Zhan raised his eyebrows, gritted his teeth, and laughed. I don't know who said he didn't want to move just now, but now it's my fault? Xia Huanhuan shrank her head guiltily and laughed. Did I say that just now? Hey, don't. I'm wrong, isn't it? If I wake them up, they'll start guessing again. Li Zhan smiled with his sharp white teeth and said in a low and magnetic voice, Then keep your voice down. The next day, Xia Huanhuan got up with her hands on her waist and was so angry that she didn't want to pay attention to Li Zhan, the big-tailed wolf. However, after breakfast, she was still taken to school by Li Zhan on a bicycle. In late October, the policy came down, and the houses and shops of Shen Wanxue, Rong Zhenbang, and Yang Qiusher's original family were returned to their original owners. The three of them were naturally overjoyed. These were things left by their ancestors. If they were gone in their hands, they would be speechless to their ancestors. Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang had two sets of for there are two courtyard houses, and there is also a garden house in Shanghai, which was bought by Shen Wanxue's family in the 1920s and 1930s. Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan accompanied Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang to see the two courtyard houses. One of them is the ancestral home of the Rong family, which is more magnificent than the one Xia Huanhuan bought. The other one is a smaller and more exquisite type. They haven't gone to see the garden house in Shanghai for the time being, and they will see it when they have the chance later. Li Zhan and Xia Huanhuan were both shocked. The three large Camp Horwood boxes last time were shocking enough. It turns out that there are so many properties. Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang laughed and said, I don't know if we can get these houses back, so I haven't told you. As for Yang Qiusher, there are 2 houses in Shanghai and Beijing and 15 or 16 medicine shops, 3 of which were gifts for the triplets. However, it was said that all the medicine shops were returned, but in fact, more than half of the more than 10 medicine shops were closed, and some were even allocated to homeless people. The only open medicine shops were in Shanghai and were looked after by a distant nephew of Yang Qiusher. Yang Qiusher asked Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan to accompany him to the 5 shops in Beijing to take a look. Fortunately, the residents of the shops that were originally occupied had been moved out, and the houses were empty. But the inside was completely unrecognizable, and it would cost a lot of money to restore them to medicine shops. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Let's repair this place. Isn't there some medicinal herbs in Qingshui village? We can directly collect the herbs from there. Yang Qiusher sighed and said, It's not easy to repair it. Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, Master, don't worry about the money. I will pay for it first. When you have finished it and make a profit, it won't be too late to pay us back. Yang Qiusher looked at her and said, It's not about the money. Although he didn't have boxes of gold antiques like Shen Wanxue and Rong Zhenbang, he still had some money. He pondered for a moment before saying, Huanhuan, I do have an idea, but I don't know if you are willing to do it. Xia Huanhuan said, Master, as long as I can help, just tell me. I will definitely help. Yang Qiusher said, I am so old, and I have no children. I really don't have the energy to manage so many shops. I thought that since I gave the 3 shops to the triplets before, I will give them the 3 shops in Beijing, and the remaining 2 shops will be given to you, Huanhuan, as my retirement money in the future. How about it? If you manage it, I will feel more at ease. There is just one thing, that is, these shops will be used to open medicine shops, and the name cannot be changed. It still has to be Yang's medicine shop. Can you promise to abide by this? Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan were shocked when they heard this. Master, this won't do. This is your ancestral property. We are not ashamed of even the one given to the triplets back then. Yes, Uncle Yang, your gift is too expensive. Besides, what's the point of talking about pension money or not? You and my parents have been friends for many years, and you are Huanhuan's master. Just for these 2 reasons, we should take care of you. Yang Qiusher waved his hand and said, There is no such thing as right or wrong in this world. Huanhuan, if you don't agree, I will move out, and you don't have to call me master anymore. For example, The 6 drugstores in Shanghai were looked after by a distant nephew of his, but he had been in the countryside for so many years, and this nephew had never visited him once. He had never even seen a letter. Blood ties were unreliable, and Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan had no obligation to take care of him in his old age. Xia Huanhuan was amused and helpless when she heard this. She thought for a while and said, "Master, I think this is how it should be. If you really trust me, I will help you run these drugstores first, but the ownership is still yours. When the drugstores are profitable, you can pay me a salary. What do you think?" Yang Qiushi heard this and knew the personalities of Xia Huanhuan and Li Zhan. He was afraid that they would not easily agree to run these stores. After all, Huanhuan had already opened 2 stores and a large restaurant. He was also familiar with Li Zhan's parents. Their family background was not less than his, and they would not covet his family business. Therefore, he nodded and said, "That's fine. However, the 3 shops for the triplets are my grandfather's intentions, so you are not allowed to refuse." Xia Huanhuan smiled and said, "Okay, then we won't refuse. It will still be called Yang's Pharmacy in the future, and it won't change." In addition to the 5 pharmacies in Beijing and the 6 pharmacies in Shanghai, there are 2 in Guangzhou, 1 in Kuan City in Yunnan Province, and 2 in Nan City in Jiangsu Province. There are many medicinal herbs in Yunnan Province, so the one in Kuan City is similar to a collection and transportation center for medicinal herbs. In addition, there is a large medicinal herb planting base in Kuan City, but it has been used to grow vegetables and grains for many years and has become deserted. Yang Qiushi has no time to take care of these for the time being and plans to open the 5 shops in Beijing first. Xia Huanhuan found someone to decorate the shops first. She had an idea and went to find Li Jia. After talking to Zhou Qiuhe about whether they were interested in coming to Beijing, Li Zhan went to ask the school. After some effort, the school agreed to accept transfer students from outside. As for the letter of introduction for Li Jia and Zhou Qiuhe when they come to Beijing, they can write that they are coming to live with their relatives. There is no way to solve the household registration immediately, but as long as they stay in Beijing and think of a solution slowly, it is also possible, so there is no need to rush. Li Zhan also went to talk to Li Jia again. Li Jia thought about it and finally decided to move his family to Beijing for the sake of his children. Therefore, Zhou Qiuhe has resigned and is responsible for looking after the store in the county. Li Jia has some free time. Last time, Li Jia was asked to help decorate the store in the county. This time, Xia Huanhuan also found Li Jia and asked him to find a few people to help. The decoration of the medicine shop was not difficult. Xia Huanhuan even drew a schematic diagram for Li Jia to refer to. Xia Huanhuan did not have bricks, tiles, and cement in her space, so she had to buy them. However, she had all kinds of wood, shelves, tables and chairs, etc., for storing medicinal materials, could all be made by carpenters. Li Jia was not good at carpentry, so Xia Huanhuan found another carpenter. But Li Jia was definitely capable of wall building and painting. Since he had to find someone to pay him anyway, he might as well find Li Jia. However, Xia Huanhuan also said the ugly words in advance. "Third brother, we are relatives, but business is business. If the decoration does not meet my requirements, I will not be merciful and will definitely ask you to redo it." Li Jia nodded solemnly and said, "Huanhuan, don't worry. Third brother will definitely be responsible for doing a good job." He was honest, but not stupid. Naturally, he knew that Xia Huanhuan was helping him. In Beijing, if you want to find someone to build walls, paint walls, or do renovations, you can find many skilled craftsmen in a few minutes. But Xia Huanhuan still gave him all these projects. Isn't it to help him? The renovation of a shop takes about a month, and Xia Huanhuan gave a renovation fee of 600 yuan for each shop. This amount was paid by Xia Huanhuan, but Yang Qiushi also took out a few antiques and asked Xia Huanhuan to exchange them for money to repair them. Xia Huanhuan originally refused, but Yang Qiushi insisted on paying for it himself, so Xia Huanhuan had to put the antiques into the space. Li Jia, apart from the expenses of buying materials such as cement, lime, and bricks, as well as the wages of the workers he brought over, can also make 100 or 200 yuan in income. Add to that the monthly income of 200 to 300 yuan from the shops in the county, so his family can make 300 to 400 yuan a month. In that era, this was an income that most people dared not even think about. Naturally, I will do my best to do it. Xia Huanhuan's restaurant now makes a profit of about 1,000 yuan per month. The clothing store depends on the season, but it can generally maintain a profit of 400 to 500 yuan. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru's stewed food store is still in operation, with a profit of about 100 yuan per month. The snack bar in the county town is about 200 to 300 yuan. Calculated in this way, there is a profit of about 2,000 yuan per month. In addition, the part of getting goods from Chen Rongsheng and letting the help sell them is not small. The profit is about 700 to 800 yuan. Therefore, the cash flow here can be maintained while renovating the drugstores one by one. However, it is really busy. I have to balance my studies and go to the store from time to time. The ingredients used in the restaurant and stewed food store, as well as Zhou Qiuhe's store and her own store in the county town, are all taken out from her space, so now she still replenishes them personally. Fortunately, there are people watching over each store, so she doesn't have to do it herself. The restaurant has Qi Jian as a consultant, who visits from time to time. The chefs in the back kitchen have to give Qi Jian face. Xia Huanhuan also promoted a manager, who did a good job as the front-of-house manager. Now smaller things can be handled directly. Qi Ningyu is mainly responsible for the clothing store. Xia Shuangshan and Lin Yuru are in charge of the braised food store, but Chanyan has been asked to help recently. Chanyan learned literacy and arithmetic in night school. She is smart and willing to learn, so she can help with the accounting and collecting money. Chun Qi and Wu Feng are also looking after the snack bar in the county. For electrical appliances and sundries, Dahe is now fully responsible for terminal sales. In fact, there are no major twists and turns in each store, and it has developed smoothly. But even so, it is tiring enough. Seeing her working non-stop, Li Zhan massaged her shoulders and said with concern, "You work too hard. You even have to calculate your sleeping time every day. There are some things that can be done by subordinates. Otherwise, you will get sick from exhaustion." Xia Huanhuan shouted comfortably, then sighed and said, "Well, there are too few people who can be used. Now we have to set up the 5 medicine shops of the master first, otherwise how can I live up to the trust of the master? After I finish this busy period, I will spend more time with you and the children." Li Zhan smiled and said, "When you are free, you can just have a good rest at home. Don't think so much." Xia Huanhuan was very comfortable with the massage. She fell asleep while talking and only said vaguely, "Well." Seeing her like this, Li Zhan softened his technique, covered her with a quilt, and hugged her to sleep. The first medicine shop was renovated very quickly. Now it mainly sells Chinese medicinal materials, but there is also a counter for Western medicine, selling some over-the-counter medicines for treating colds and digestion. It is easier to source non-Chinese medicinal materials. Xia Huanhuan grows them in her space, and there are also those grown in Qingshui village. Western medicine is relatively difficult to obtain. Now the Baiyao in Yunnan province has been established for less than 10 years, and Harbin medicine has been established for less than 3 years. There is a shortage of medicines all over the country. Unless the outer packaging of the Western medicine in Xia Huanhuan's space is destroyed, it will definitely be reported by others. Therefore, it can only be sold on the black market and it cannot be sold in the medicine shop. However, these are not a big problem. With the development of the country, Western medicine will be easier to buy than Chinese medicine. Xia Huanhuan decided to formally establish a transportation team. The ingredients of each restaurant must be kept fresh, so she still takes them out from her space in person. However, in the future, except for the medicinal materials she takes out from the space to supplement, there is no need to be a porter for other medicinal materials such as those bought from Qingshui village or other places in the 5 medicine shops. There is also clothing. She still has to run her own business to buy goods from Guangshi because the journey is too far, but now she will regularly entrust the garment workshop of the county textile factory to help make clothes. In the future, the raw materials will be transported there and the finished products will be transported back to Jingshi. For these short-distance transportation, Xia Huanhuan plans to hire a transport team. Of course, in addition to transporting her own goods, She can also do the business of other vendors and individual households, and even public work, so that she can have other income. Xia Huanhuan has also thought about the candidates for the transport team. Li Jie and Wu Feng. Both of them have trained under Luoqing and have learned to drive a truck. Although there is a suspicion of poaching Luoqing's activities in the past 2 years have been around Guangshi and Shanghai, and there is no layout in Jingshi. Li Jie and Wu Feng have their families here, so they only have occasional work to do. Therefore, it is not too unethical for her to find Li Jie and Wu Feng. However, before establishing a transport team, you must have a truck. Although after the opening up, there is no restriction that individuals cannot buy trucks, but a Dongfeng truck, with a base price of 20,000 or 30,000, may be more expensive than buying a courtyard house now. This is naturally not a price that an individual can afford, so even if it is opened up, it is generally purchased by large state-owned enterprises. But this is not difficult for Xia Huanhuan, who told her to have a small truck in her space. When she prepared it, she also bought it according to the appearance of this age, so from the appearance alone, there will be absolutely no flaws. Li Jie is still busy decorating the medicine shop, but Li Jie readily agreed to Xia Huanhuan's suggestion to set up a short-distance transport team. Wu Feng naturally had nothing to say. Xia Huanhuan went to the county town and handed the small truck to Wu Feng. All the travel procedures and letters of introduction were naturally handled. Recently, the only things that can be used are to send the winter coats processed by the textile factory to Beijing City and the Chinese medicine for the first medicine shop, which needs to be collected in Qingshui village and then transported to Beijing City. The types of medicinal materials in Qingshui village were not complete enough, so